Yeah. Yeah. It is. It is, actually. There is a dragon in the book. Did y'all share things on your Discord? Oh yeah, go ahead. You might need to adjust some of it because it's not too bad. Oh. That is a frequent thing that I do call her. Uh, oh my god, you were playing Doom Flumps. I love Doom. I'm so sorry I missed the stream. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Right? Right? It's so much fun. Right. All right. Um, I think we can go live. Ready? All good?
Yep.
Okay, here we are. Here we are, friends. Hello, everybody.
Hey.
We
Hello.
are
Hello.
we're live with our I wanted to say like semi-annual or something. It's really not. It's every
Semi-monthly.
like yeah, semi-monthly
Yeah.
chat about Megan's new book. This is the end of all things. It might be my favorite series that she's written so far. And I'm so excited about it. So nope, just book.
So,
um, so yeah, we're very very happy to chat. Hello, Val.
hey, Val.
How are you dealing, darling? Dealing. You know.
Dueling.
Dueling. Dueling.
So just so it's at like near the beginning-ish of the VOD, I just want to answer a couple quick questions that I get a lot. I think some people have heard this spiel already, but I just want to repeat it for anyone who might be new or might watch the VOD later. My books are available on Amazon. They are available in ebook and paperback format.
Nice, Val.
And they are all in nice.
Ooh.
They're all in Kindle Unlimited. Oh, nice, Kali. Which means that if you are subscribed to the Kindle Unlimited program,
Nope.
if you are subscribed to the Kindle Unlimited program, you can read them for free, and I do get paid. The amount that I get paid is by page. It's a small amount per page, and it does usually add up to less than a sale, but I do get paid, and I'm very grateful to people who read my books through Kindle Unlimited, and I'm 100% thankful, and I like that is supporting me. So if you're in Kindle Unlimited and you want to read the book and you think, oh no, but will she get paid? Yes, I absolutely totally will. Um, Also, just so people know, because it's another question I get a lot, I can't do physical box sets. I can only do digital box sets. If I were to do a physical box set, I would have to buy all of the books separately to myself, bundle them, and send them back out, which would make them insanely expensive. So currently, if you're wondering why my books only have digital box sets, that's why. That's one of the limitations of Amazon. I don't currently have hardcover books, but I did get accepted to the hardcover beta, so that may be something in the future.
Hmm.
And I think that pretty much covers like the frequently asked questions. And this is my new book. It's the beginning of a new. I guess it's somewhere.
Right.
It's always backwards. Is that? Nope.
It's the other way.
It's the beginning.
I got it right.
I was practicing
my
before we got on here, so
No, it's away from my fingers. There. It's the first book in a brand new series. It is a space opera for anyone who's like, what is space opera? Hey, Vinyl.
Hey, Vinyl. Congrats on affiliate.
Oh my gosh, congrats on
heard
affiliate.
that all the founder badges are gone. I'm pretty steamed about that.
I know, right? What is up with
no.
that? Girl, you're amazing. That's why.
If you're wondering what is a space opera is any story that takes place on a vast grand in a vast grand scale setting, but focuses on the drama between characters. Examples: Star Wars is certainly the most famous. Mass Effect is a space opera. It counts as a space opera as well. So that's what it is. It's called The End of All Things. It's book 1 of the Celestial Serenade, and that's what we're talking about today.
Yay.
Do you think that the Guardians of the Galaxy movies would count as a space opera?
Definitely as a space opera, yes, for sure.
Okay.
On a smaller scale, maybe. I don't know.
Well, I mean,
Certainly a
Guardians of the
smaller
Galaxy,
scale than like Star Wars. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but they do have. It does have a wider setting. They just don't necessarily utilize the whole setting. So I do still think it counts.
Hello, Brucey.
Robert the Bruce.
Hey, Brucey.
It is.
yeah.
It isn't that great, Val? How it ends? It starts with the end. It's so good. It's so good. Wait until you read it.
It is.
I'm so excited about everybody to know what this book is about, and I can finally talk to people about it.
So,
Oh my god!
Just so
The cover does look amazing. Look.
It does.
Yeah.
It's my one life skill, pointing in the right direction the first time.
So just two quick facts. My cover artist is Molly Phipps. She works for I think she runs a design firm called We've Got You Covered Book Design. She's amazing. She did this cover. I basically
find the link.
Basically what happens is a couple weeks before she starts the cover, she asks me information about the book, and I just word vomit a whole bunch of stuff in her direction, and she comes up with this. So it's amazing. I love her. She did the covers for the Dream Things True series as well. And she's gonna do all 9 books of this.
That's so good. Her work is amazing. She has done beautiful
I'm just
covers.
about to send her the email for book 2, so I'm super excited.
Thank you, Ghost, for sharing that link in the chat. I just want
thank you.
to note,
So
thank you, Flam Kuchin, for the follow. Malleus.
Hey, Beechin. Hey,
Beechin.
Malleus.
Welcome,
So
welcome.
that's Molly. She's amazing. Second fun fact, the Celestial Serenade was originally 3 books. Symphony of the Stars, Song of the Spheres, and Soul of the Sun. The first book, when I had finished polishing it to a fine sheen, was 210,000 words. On average, a sci-fi or fantasy novel will run between 90,000 and 120,000.
We got a raid, Will.
Hey, Will.
Thank you. Hi, hotline.
Hey,
Everybody, hi. Welcome, welcome.
Well, I guess I can close that tab now. Welcome.
We've kind of just started, so you guys are here at the perfect time.
Yeah.
Your stream broke?
Oh
What?
no, really?
Oh
What does that
no!
mean?
Why?
What does that mean?
Oh no.
Do you have to restart, Will?
But you had the better lighting and
so
everything.
good.
The lighting. So yeah, the book was 210,000 words, and as an indie author, it's just not viable to produce only books of that length and sell them at a price that is reasonable to most people who buy ebooks. So I decided to break each book down into 3, which means that the trilogy became a series of 9. The first 3 books in Symphony of the Stars, which is what the bundle book will be called, are called The End of All Things, as you can see. The second book is called Across the Void, and the third book is called After the Nightmare, and those 2 books will be coming out later this year.
Yeah.
Half my RAM hasn't been working for 3 months. Oh no!
That is freaking terrible. Oh my gosh.
It wasn't the RAM that wasn't plugged in. It was the video card. Had
Oh, the video card.
Completely come out of its mooring.
Ugh.
Oh wow.
Just
Just
download
download RAM.
That's what I do.
That's right.
That's what I do.
That's
I
the
just download
easy
more RAM.
answer.
So I don't want to take too much control because this is actually
No,
another
please,
stream. But
please
if
do.
If you
It's
guys
your
have
book.
any questions, if you guys have any questions about the book or about me or about my writing, feel free to toss them into the chat. If we for some reason miss them, toss it out again. Remind us. We definitely want to answer all of your questions.
There's a link to the book right there in chat.
At some point,
Right there,
I will
over there.
do, at some point, and I can do it now if you guys want, but at some point I'll do a pronunciation guide. I will pronounce all of the main characters' names the way I pronounce them, and then Flutter can tell us
Everybody how
how she says them, because she has read these books. And
so
I'll probably at some point read a couple of snippets. But the main topic that we're probably going to be talking about in between all those things is fictional relationships, because we talked last time about how to make fictional people. So now this time we're going to talk about different types of fictional relationships and how you write about them.
I have a double sound. Hold on. Let me make sure
Double
that I'm
sound.
not.
That's not on Discord.
It's definitely not on Discord.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was suddenly worried, like,
Talking about your fictional is your current relationship
Your
status. Val?
current relationship status is fictional.
This particular book is a sci-fi book. It's a space opera, as I was mentioning. It's mostly science-y. There is some talk of seeing the future, so it has a tiny bit of fantasy element. This one is definitely more sci-fi. If you're into fantasy more, check out my Dream Things True series, which starts with Dreamers Do Lie. I can actually flash you. I actually have. I won't get my physical copy of The End of All Things for a while, but this is my epic fantasy series. If you prefer fantasy, start with this. If you prefer sci-fi, start with The End of All Things.
But it's a healthy mix, I think.
Ghost
They're so
and
good.
inspiration.
Oh, Dan.
damn.
Dan.
Yeah. I mean,
Don't come.
to
Don't.
some
You
fucking
can tell them what we were talking about earlier if you want.
To some extent, every relationship I have is inspiration for novel stuff, good relationships and bad relationships. My relationship with Flutter has inspired things in my books. My relationship with all of my friends, and of course my long-term. Ghost and I have been married for how many years will it be this year? It'll be 6. Is it 16 this year?
Listen to you.
More.
Do
18.
you not know?
Oh wow.
Well, no, because it would have been. Oh, that's right.
No.
We got
Yeah.
married in 2003.
Yeah.
03. Yep.
Yeah.
I'm so lucky that we got married in 2010, because then the math's like
I
super
know. For
easy.
So
me,
easy, yeah.
Like, wasn't it
Those round years.
on the O, but it wasn't. I got married in the womb. I was.
Yeah.
Full
Good and
disclosure,
bad,
I was 2 weeks out of high school when we got married. Ghost and you consider. I mean, Ghost and I have a robust and detailed relationship. I don't necessarily know that I.
Look at that, look at that.
And it was a
good or
beautiful
bad.
wedding. I was there.
Yes, Flutter was in our wedding.
So the best review
look
of your
at it, look at it.
relationship is the wedding was good. Like,
And a robust relationship.
Right.
If I had a
yeah.
bad
I like how we're all dancing
The
around
freaking
this question.
mechanical
If I had a
nature
bad-
of this relationship.
If I had a bad relationship with my husband, would we do a chat every week called Divorce Court? Like, come on.
Right. No, guys, I can honestly tell you that I've been there
also
since
think I
the
said-
inception of that relationship, and I don't think it's going anywhere, so it's probably pretty good.
Well, what do you mean by not going anywhere? Because that no.
No,
I'm
I
kidding.
think it's. Well, I mean, like the relationship is there to stay. Is a better way to say that.
Let's move on. Let's move on to fictional relationships.
Right.
Yeah.
Ghost is like, please stop,
True
please,
story, yeah.
please stop this. How is the echo any better? Just let me know, you guys. Sorry.
Oh right.
One of the core things that you find a lot in books that I don't even think that people really think about is relationships. Because even if you're not writing a romance, your main character is going to have some kind of relationship with the other characters in the story. It may be a strained relationship. They might not trust the people who are working with them, or they might have, like, if you think of the X-Files and you think of Mulder and Scully, like the two of them have a working relationship. They trust each other, they bounce ideas off of each other, they have a dynamic between them. So every character in your story is going to have some kind of relationship with other characters in the story. And so as important as knowing your characters and who they are and what they do is knowing how they interact with the other people that are around them. And if you're writing a specifically romantic relationship, or a friendship, this becomes even more important because you need to know the depth to which
I'm sorry. Okay, they can hear you now. I can't hear you, but that's okay. We'll figure this out.
While she figures it out, I'll be right back.
Chat, what was the last thing you guys heard? Because what she was saying was actually really, really important and kind of cool. No sound except flutter breathing.
We're very quiet now.
Oh.
What if we just yell into our mics?
Chat! Don't mess with me! No, Val, it's not your fault.
Okay, I
Like,
think it fixed
we
it.
want the stream to be.
I
you know,
really no,
good
it's
quality.
okay, Val.
I mean, we can't always control that stuff.
I
but
apologize. I
if
tried to
possible,
fix
we
it
want to
and
be
I
fixed.
made it worse
Can't hear
instead.
her now. She's
Uh,
up there talking.
Can't hear me? No.
No.
You guys, I don't even know. Let's listen.
I'm right there with you, Flutter. Oh my
I
gosh.
tried to fix it and I just made it worse. So I'm probably not gonna play with it. If it's an okay, you're still getting double flutter. I was gonna say, is it really bad? Like, because if it's really bad, hey TM0.
Yeah, how you doing, Andrew? Man, I'm so sorry your internet died. That's terrible.
Yeah.
I was lurking in your channel. What was that game you were playing? It looked super cute. It was like
East 3 or
Double
something
flutter's
like
not
that.
that good for you.
Yeah.
I have no
They're
idea how to
classic,
fix that. To be honest,
RPGs.
I've never
Yeah.
had that issue before.
I think like the whole series is on Steam. They're super old.
What am I
Oh,
doing
okay.
right here?
Right,
What
obviously,
the
you
hell
look
is
at them.
happening?
That's
But the
not super
Discord
old.
doesn't. Oh, I don't have Discord capture on. I've got my headphone audio on.
So I'm assuming they can hear us again now. What was
Yes.
the last thing you heard me say?
I would love
chat?
that, Val. You're
I just went on
welcome.
a
We've
whole
got a room
spiel
for you. It's fine.
about relationship.
Hello.
which is kind of foundational for what we're going to be talking about tonight. So
Yeah, so if you
wanna-
didn't hear any of it,
I so apologize.
Wow, it started
you
in
guys.
'89. Holy.
Yeah.
Wait, started?
Yeah.
also
it's
hello
like
ATM.
Oh, wow.
almost as long running as Final Fantasy.
It's
That's
almost-
incredible.
Almost as long running as me.
Yeah.
Dang.
What are we talking about? Which series are we talking about?
East. It's like YS.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
Yeah,
how
it's
you-
what
I don't understand.
what
Why?
Andrew ATM was.
I'm
playing.
waiting for chat to.
Can you hear us?
I think
They should be able to, right? At this point.
maybe.
Yeah, but I'm wondering what they heard. What was the last thing they heard me say? Do I have to redo
okay.
the whole relationships spiel? Did you hear the thing
I
about
don't
Mulder and
know. Oh my
Scully?
god. You guys, I'm so sorry.
It's fine.
Andrew didn't hear any of that, so he just
Right.
So,
Yeah.
I know, but the people who were in chat at the time aren't talking, so I
I'm
don't
just
know.
gonna pour some more wine and let Megan talk. That's my job for
Let's
now.
do it.
I'll
Let's
just
start
redo
there.
it. I'll just
Over.
redo it.
Yeah.
So,
just say it as good as you did the first time.
Mm-hmm.
okay.
Or better.
Beechen asked if it was sci-fi or fantasy. It's sci-fi. If you like fantasy more, check out this one. This one's more fantasy. This one's more sci-fi. Tonight we're going to talk about, I'm going to read some excerpts and I'm going to do a pronunciation guide of how I pronounce the names in the book. And then Flutter will tell us how she says them. But in between, feel free to ask questions about me, about the books, about writing, whatever. And we'll answer them. They must have heard this part because I think that was before Dan asked the question about our relationship. Anyway, we're talking about relationships, fictional relationships. One of the main building blocks of stories, aside from your characters and knowing who they are, is knowing how they interact with all the other people around them. They will end up having relationships with all the other characters. Whatever those relationships are, they may be friendships, they may be strained. People might not always trust each other. And the example I used was sort of, if you think of Mulder and Scully in the X-Files, they have a working relationship, they trust each other. They have a dynamic where they bounce off of each other. And you also have romantic relationships, and it's really important to know how your character would interact in a romantic relationship because they're like the hardest and most important relationships. The incorporated elements in your characters that you get from people you know in real life.
Hold on, absolutely. And complete that sentence with his next thought.
And why is Cully such a derp in my books?
Wait, am I?
I don't insert people like wholesale into my books. I do take character traits and characteristics from people. You have to keep in mind that I met Collie, I think, in August, and I have not started writing a series that was not already planned prior to that since I met Collie. So just so you know.
So any derps in her book is purely coincidental.
They come from I haven't gotten to Collie's derps yet.
Future derps though.
Future
keep your
derps
eyes out.
could be related, but we're not there yet. About to ask if he was just straight up in the book.
Oh my God, Malleus.
Is the protagonist sidekick? What?
Yeah, that emote.
Collie is the
It's
protagonist.
like a perpetually shocked cauliflower.
I actually really love that emote. I think it's great.
Unfortunately,
well, yeah.
for those of you that wished Collie was in this book, I originally wrote this book in 2008. So I did not know Collie back then, sadly.
Wow, what was I doing in 2008? It doesn't matter, but we did not.
I can tell you exactly what I was doing in 2008 because I had, in January of 2008, I started making world building notes for this novel. And in May of 2008, I started writing the novel at the same time that I started working at a help desk. I was working at a consulting firm. I was working for their help desk. It was my work placement at college. And so much of the first draft of this book was written like at my lunch breaks and like in the evenings.
You guys can hear me. I was sorry.
Okay.
Val is trying
That's
to help
chat,
me with
okay.
the issue.
Okay.
Well, thank you, Hotline. I'm sorry that you won't find Collie in the books yet, but hopefully they're still worth reading.
Here's the thing, though. Imagine Andrews write a book about Collie now. Imagine how boring that book would be. Maybe it could be funny at points, but like, oh my gosh, my life is freaking boring, you guys.
A streamer who wanted to get into streaming to have nice, deep conversations with his chat, but they just bully him.
And
I
all that
know.
happens is he gets heart attacks and he dies at a young age.
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
Would
Ethan,
probably
It
be
would be
a side
boring. You'd
character.
probably just be a
pointing out
side
that
character.
Holly's not
in
a
a, in a
comic
book.
relief.
In a book about Collie, he's a side character.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
It becomes a book about vinyl very quickly.
Oh my gosh. That would be so perfect. Wait. That's genius.
Thank you,
So I do
Vinyl,
wanna
for
point
apparently
out-
fixing my thing. I appreciate that. I don't know why it's doing it, but I appreciate you.
Yeah, and anyone else trying to troubleshoot this. Seriously, we rely on you guys because we don't like.
Yeah, we
Those
just
of you who stream know you don't know what your stream is doing because you're not watching your own stream.
someone-
You're doing your stream.
living in the woods. He would only drink vegetable soup. The protagonist would run into him during the story. Hang on, I need to write something down.
I think maybe we could probably work that in somewhere. I feel like
Oh my
I feel like
If you just think vinyl.
No, she said Val.
no, I
We
said
were
Val.
talking about vinyl.
We were talking about vinyl.
They were talking about vinyl, and I thank you.
We were
But
talking about
Flutter
Polly's
said
story
thank you,
being
Val.
about vinyl, but
Yeah.
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 We're talking about
We
vinyl.
were
That's why
talking
you.
about
That's why
her,
you heard
yeah.
vinyl. Yeah.
I do want to say that a lot of people think when you talk about relationships in like books and stuff, everyone just assumes that you're talking about romantic relationships. But one of the relationships that I've been really trying to focus on in my work as well is friendships, because I think the importance of really good friendships has sort of gotten downplayed in a lot of media today because they use the formula of the protagonist and the love interest, and it's important to the modern formula
Megan
for there to be a love interest.
Sent me a message the other day being like, hey, is it weird if this person tells their friend something before they tell their spouse something? And I was like, no, why? I do that all the time. Like, I like, and but it's become such a weird, like a weird thing to like, we just dismiss friendships instead of, please tell me that's not showing up in front of you guys. I'm like trying to, I don't know what the hell is happening on my things. I just, sorry, you guys.
The stream looks okay.
That was a writer in one of my writing groups was asking that question because they wanted to write their main character telling their best friend about something before telling their not even actual boyfriend. And I was like, I've been married for how many years, and I still sometimes tell my best friend some things before I tell my husband.
Megan
and
is
I
often the first person that hears about my problems. Like that.
In fact, I think there are some things that I tell Flutter that Ghost doesn't hear
Probably
and
never
doesn't wanna
hears.
hear.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. This is the thing. I do the same
Don't
thing.
wanna know.
Yep.
Yeah. Well,
So,
no,
yeah.
I mean it's very true, and like if you think about some of the most popular and enduring, like popular fiction that we have, like the Lord of the Rings came to mind when you were talking about friendships. I mean, some
Breakfast
of
Club?
the right, exactly, and the Breakfast Club perfectly leads into what I was going to say. Like, and I would argue even Star Wars, like, you know, the relationship between Luke and Han, and that sort of thing, and like, anyway, there's so many stories. But what you were talking about with the Breakfast Club leads me into what I was about to say. Like, so many blockbusters today are very focused on like raising what I would call external stakes. I don't know what the actual like term for this is, but like the first, you know, Avengers film or whatever it is, you know, there's like a country that's in danger, and then the next one the whole world's in danger, and then the next one like the galaxy's in danger, and then the universe, and like it just, you know, they just keep raising the external stakes. Yeah, because somebody's trying to blow that up or whatever. Anyway, but because humans are social beings, often what's much more important to us and you know, much more easy for us to grasp than like the universe exploding or whatever. Like, that's, you know, that's a pretty out there idea, but are the relationships, the people that we you know, deal with and see every day. and I think like there's a couple films that came to my mind, like you were talking about The Breakfast Club, but like The Room, where these film or not The Room, sorry, that's like that meme,
That
but Room
that Tommy Wiseau.
2015. Well,
I
not the
haven't seen
Tommy
any of
Wiseau.
those.
I haven't actually seen that. Sorry.
Yeah.
But it's called. I had to look it up because I was like, I know it's not The Room. It's just called Room 2015. It's an excellent film. Anyway, there's a woman and her child are held captive for 7 years, and anyway they try
Oh
to
yeah.
escape. And
Okay.
it's basically like all this super contained story, and the only stakes are this woman and her child. But it's incredibly gripping in a way that I've never found a single Marvel movie to ever be, because you're
And that's
invested in these relationships. And so
Right.
that's where stakes and like the heart and core of some stories, and I would argue a lot more stories than maybe we
Yeah.
give credit, that's where they come from. I mean, even some of the ones that I might kind of pass off a little bit, like Civil War or whatever. Like the core conflict is between the relationship between Captain America and
Yeah.
Iron Man.
what's his name? The Iron Man. Yeah. So
Yeah.
anyway.
I
Anyway.
have to agree with that.
And you're right, because like when you talk about the universe exploding or this fictional country exploding, that makes for entertaining movies in a like base lizard brain
Right,
stimulus.
in a visceral way,
Yeah.
right?
Popcorn. Like, but like
Which is fine, by the way.
since you brought up Marvel, right? There's like Age of Ultron, right? Which I finished watching that movie, and as we walked out of the theater, I was like, yeah, like that was a good $10 of entertainment for an evening, and it was fun. I had a good time, but I'm already forgetting what the movie was even about.
We've never
Right,
watched it. We
and
never
then-
watched it the second time.
Yeah. I've only ever seen it once. And then you've got WandaVision coming out, which kind of is a continuation off of that movie and the Infinity War. And I'm so much more invested in these characters. Where at the beginning of it, I was kind of like, wait, where did she come from, and what was her story again, and like what was his story, because I just didn't care.
Right.
Because it was incidental to the mountain. The flying mountain is gonna crush Sokovia, and
Right.
and the universe is gonna blow up
Right.
and stuff, right? And I was like, you get this Vision guy off the screen. I want to see the universe blow,
Right.
Right.
but I've never got invested in any of those movies the way I'm invested in WandaVision right now.
And I have to say, Megan is an expert at creating those relationships and making you care about them. Like every time I'm reading one of her books, I am, and she'll attest to this. We send her messages, the beta readers. We send her messages like, "What the fuck are you doing? Why did you do this? Why?" Because we care so much about the characters that she builds. She's so good at that. And this book is no exception. I have to say, this is my favorite. I'll say it a million times, you guys. My favorite. Right
I
there.
did. It's not. We haven't gotten to the one that she sent this message for me yet. But there is somewhere in this series. There's a book where Flutter literally sent me a message that was like, "Oh my God, you're making this too hard. I can't believe you." The character she liked was in trouble.
Yeah. I was like, I could think of a solution, but now I can't, you bitch.
So because a couple people brought some particular stories up and brought up the fact that we devalue friendships and things like that, like we don't value the non-romantic relationships, because the romance and even to Hollywood has completely formulaically taken over every story, to the point where the word romance doesn't mean what it used to mean.
No, not at all.
Like it's deviated so far away from the original meaning of the term now when we think romance, we think of essentially a sexual relationship, right?
Right, but it doesn't. It's not that necessarily, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, not at all, and it doesn't. Not even a platonic relationship, really.
Right.
It's, but but we brought up like Lord of the Rings featured some very strong friendships,
Yes.
and Gimli and what's his face, Legolas. I almost said Orlando, but that's the actor. But like people, we it's gotten to the point where we devalue friendships as a source of tension building and compelling story building relationships to such a point that Gimli and Legolas can't possibly just be friends. They have to be sexual partners in some way. And there's all these people come out of it, and Captain America and Bucky can't possibly, like, they must be sexual
not gonna
partners.
lie, I might be one of the people that ships that.
Everybody, every platonic friendship in any fandom is like has to have a sexual component to it now.
I have to add a caveat to that, because the problem with Bucky and Steve is that Marvel have written them with the subtext of having a romantic relationship and then have told people that they don't. That is a problem with the movies that we could talk about at length.
Thank you, Val. To the end of the line. Cheers.
I do think that there is an element. I don't know about Bucky and them specifically.
But it's an interesting comparison, because there is no subtext between Legolas and Gimli.
Right.
They're just good. I mean, you're right. They're just good friends. There's no subtext between them in the book. The only thing, and even that's not really subtext, is that they, like, Gimli and Legolas were such good friends that they actually let Gimli into the Undying Lands so that he could.
But that's just a testament to their friendship. Right.
Yeah, because in the Lord of the Rings universe, elves and dwarves don't usually get along.
Right,
they
they're
usually
not
hate each other. Yeah. So I definitely can see that. Although I don't think shipping is necessarily because people are forcing things to always be romantic. I think people just get excited about things.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there definitely is an element of it's the fantasy element of it, right? Everybody loves their smut. That what is it, fanfic that people write? Like, that's a thing. That's just
going
a thing.
Straight to smut.
Listen, that's what fanfic is. Come on, if there's anything that fanfic is, it's smut. Almost across the board.
Yeah, mostly, probably.
But when you talk to people who buy into this stuff, they're like, well, it must, right? There has to be a sexual component to that relationship, because look at how close they are. And,
but that's not
real
a thing,
friends aren't that close, and whatever. It's like,
I'm 1,000,000% with you, Ghost.
I do also want to grab another thread from that, though, because I feel like Flutter posted something on Facebook that is sort of relevant to this conversation that was about Boromir.
Oh, yeah.
And it talks about how at first, if you look at the beginning part of the Fellowship's journey, in a lot of ways, Boromir is kind of the only one who sort of paid attention to what was going on with the halflings, and, like, he tried to teach them new skills, and he tried to make sure that they were, like, doing okay, because a lot of the rest of them were very focused on what they were doing and where they were going, and not necessarily the fact that the halflings would struggle with that. And then, spoilers for a how many year old book.
Yeah. Seriously, if you don't know about this by now.
Boromir eventually is overcome by his desire for the ring and attempts to steal it, and breaches his trust with these halflings.
Oh, what?
All this time developing a relationship with, and ultimately he dies trying to make up for that mistake. Mm-hmm. He sacrifices himself trying to protect Merry and Pippin. And I feel like that ties into this idea of friendship, right? Like, we want to talk about how do you raise the stakes on that kind of level? Like, Boromir developed this relationship with the halflings, but then he hurt it. He damaged that relationship with them. And so and this was something that he cared about. He cared enough about his relationship with them as friends that he didn't want them to think ill of him. He wanted them to know that he did have a vested interest in them as people and not just in the ring. And so when Merry and Pippin became in danger, he stepped up he protected them, and I don't think it was just out of a sense of duty.
And
I think it was
let's
because
talk about how
he
the
cared
ring
about them.
actively like made people want to do bad
And it
things.
subverts
Like,
people,
so
yeah.
it's not like Boromir was a terrible person. He's
Right.
just a human, and humans are really, really influenced, right? So
I've actually always found him. I've always found that I sympathized with him.
I know he's great, and he's great to
I always felt
Faramir.
really bad for him.
He's such a good guy. Yeah.
And there's this moment, especially in the movies, which I've always been really glad that they highlighted this, where Boromir is dying and Aragorn finds him, and they have this moment between the two of them. And there's this very touching scene where, you know, Aragorn touches foreheads with him, and he takes his bracers, and they have this moment of brotherhood. And I feel like, and I had this conversation on Twitter with someone recently too, like we've lost this idea of brotherhood as a thing that is
friendships can be intimate.
important.
They don't
In
have
a
to be
way.
sexual, right? Like intimacy is more than sex.
It's different from sex.
So
That's why like when you watch the movie version, and bearing in mind that movie came out when 2001,
yeah, that sounds about right.
Fellowship of the Ring,
Wow.
when
Was it
like
really?
he died.
It was.
Yeah, when he died, and Aragorn like kissed him on the forehead, and
Right.
it was a very different
Oh,
time
was
in
it actually a
2001
kiss?
compared to now.
Right. No
And
kidding.
and like he kissed him
Ugh.
on the forehead, and you would hear everybody in the theater go, "Ew!" Right?
I hated
I
watching
remember
those in
that
the
happening
movies
when
in
I
the
saw
theater
it.
because there were so many
definitely-
jerks
yeah.
in those audiences for
Yeah.
so many of those scenes
Yeah.
that pissed me off. I'd be like, "What the hell
But-
are you even here for?" Like,
But when you, but when you, because he kisses a guy on the forehead,
Dan.
like, how I miss those days. Oh my god. 2001 was a weird movie.
It was a
Yeah.
weird movie.
And when you talk about that like what happened to the concept of like brotherhood and like male relationships, and it wasn't too long after that the term bromance got coined, right? And you had this whole concept of the bromance come back.
Well, and all of it's a
Which-
very new concept in terms of time in general, right? Like in the past, 60 or 70 years, this kind of machismo has become a big thing, right? It's not something historically that is correct. Go back in time and you have all kinds of relationships between all kinds of people that today people look at and like laugh or deride or think are weird. And why? Because they should be the norm. Like
Yep.
Yeah.
And
that sort of thing is just interesting to me. Like between gross in 2001 to now, the concept of a male relationship has taken such a hard
Toxic
turn.
masculinity.
That's very
well, and
yeah. Well, but I'm saying it's taken a hard turn in a positive
Yeah.
direction, right?
And I
Where
think
you
this-
don't blink twice at certain things, right?
Right.
I think this is why it's so important for myself and other writers in general to write those kinds of relationships. Like, yeah,
include that.
I have romantic subplots in my books. Like sometimes there's a love interest, sometimes my characters get together with other characters, sometimes their relationships play a role in the long-term plot in some form or fashion. But I try to always make sure that friendships are a thing. And one of the big important relationships in the beginning of The End of All Things is Salus's relationship with Alrea, his sister.
Salus is my guy.
So yes, and I won't talk too much about this because there's more about this in a later book, but a lot of people, when they first read the book, they were like, well, Salus and Alrea have a really close relationship, like closer than most brother and sister. And I was like, yes, they do. They are closer than most siblings are. And eventually there's a reason you find out. But that was a conscious decision that I made
Right.
when I wrote the book, to give them that relationship, and it shows through in the way that I have them interact with each other. And that's why it's so important for you to know like what relationships your characters have, because if you want them to come off as genuine or organic or to ring a certain way to people, you have to know how to create. I had to know how to create that sense of, well, wait, isn't Salas a little too clingy to his sister? Isn't he just a little, like, doesn't he care just a little too much about certain aspects of her life? And so in order to do something like that, you have to understand how sibling relationships work, which I was blessed with 2 younger brothers. And Ghost also has a younger brother, so I've had many sibling relationships in my life to draw off of.
Nice.
Oh yeah, there you go. Speaking of siblings, Stokes Lahoma is Megan's brother, who
He
streams.
is my youngest brother.
Go give him a follow.
He's my youngest brother, and now they actually have another sibling that's not related to me that I don't really know. So there's 4 of us, but
Oh my
so
god,
I guess
when
that
did
makes
that
him-
happen? How do I not know these things? This is so weird.
I'll catch up with that off stream.
It's fine.
But,
Yep.
but I guess it means technically Stokes isn't
Thank
the
you,
youngest.
Neko
anymore.
Cat, for the follow.
Oh, welcome. My goodness. Yeah, I think it's
Cat. Should I say that actually instead? I feel like that's a thing. Sorry.
I think it's only
sorry.
2 cats. I think it's Neko Cat.
I
That's
know,
just a
but
cat,
Neko means
right?
cat,
So it's
right?
cat.
So cat.
I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying.
Huh? I'm sorry. I really like your name. That's all. I'm sorry. Just
Yeah,
Neko. All right, I got you.
I think, oh man, I don't know if I want to drag us down this tangent.
Ooh, do it.
Maybe, I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't even say it. Well, I was just thinking, like, this is something that I've thought about a lot, like what Ghost was talking about, where like, you know, it's real life is a very, very much a mix of like romantic and platonic relationships,
Oh yeah.
and in the media that we consume, at least in my lifetime, like I have noticed a very stark trend towards focusing, fixating, and probably even obsessing over romantic relationships
Yes, it's been a heavy skew.
at
It's cute.
the
Yeah.
expense of friendships.
Mhm.
And like oh gosh, you know, we don't need to talk too much about this portion, but like I think it actually has a lot to do. I mean, it's just basic economics. Like, there's no money to be made in like marketing friendship to people, but there's a ton of money to be made in marketing romantic relationships to people.
I agree with you
Right?
to a
Like-
certain extent. I feel
Well,
like
I don't think it's 100%, you know.
I feel
but,
like the
I
market
do
would be
think it
there
plays
if
a
they
part.
wanted it to be there. That's the thing. Like
Mm.
like these people
Yeah.
know what they're
Yeah,
marketing
you're
and
right,
why,
you're
right?
right.
I feel like
Yeah.
this overzealous romantic relationship idea is due to that. And I this is a whole you know how marriage was just a contract, right? It's just a social contract
yeah.
so that 2 families could join together and somebody would be paying somebody a lot of money, right? So or
the
whatever
father,
substitute for money. Right.
the father giving away the bride is
But-
literally a farmer giving away a cow or
Right.
a sheep.
Right.
Like,
So
that's where it comes
but
from,
the idea that grew out of that in the, I don't know, Victorian area, this whole like love thing, I don't know when that was born, but the idea that you have to be in love to be married, and I feel like that is a fallacy in and of itself. Like, no, don't get me wrong, I think that it's good to be in love if you're married, but I feel like the institution of marriage is flawed because it was born out of something that isn't about that.
Sure.
And so the idea, but that really like harnessed our obsession with this, like, oh, you have to find your soulmate, you have to have
Oh,
this love
absolutely.
But
in
if
your
we're
life
talking-
and all of that. So
Yeah, if we're talking about this sort of obsession of like finding your perfect match, I do feel like Hollywood feeds that
Definitely.
myth. Like, because there are so many, and you can go to any corner of the internet and you can find discussions about this very thing, this idea that people have grown up on this media where they're seeing people, you
I
know,
must find my
love at first
prince.
sight and finding your soulmate and all of this stuff.
Mhm.
And they think that that's what real love is. They think that if you get together with someone and they don't instantly understand everything about you and can give you what you're thinking of, it's not real love. And I got news for you guys. Like, I've been married long enough to know it's hard
Getting
work.
how it works.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you get to the point where when somebody asks you how good is your relationship, you go, it's
The wedding was
robust.
nice.
The wedding was nice.
We've come full circle. Thank you.
What I was gonna say is that Ghost and I have very different
That's right,
communication styles. Ghost has a certain way of communicating, and I have a certain way of communicating. And also, Ghost is I want 10 minutes to cool off kind of guy, and I'm going to explode if I don't talk
Right,
about
we
this
have
right
to
now,
talk now.
girl. So it so happens that when you're married and you live in close quarters all the time, especially during a global pandemic, and you don't communicate the same way, you have moments where you'll want to strangle each other. And the only way to be able to get around that is to learn to communicate with each other better, to find ways that you can meet in the middle, to find ways to work through your problems. You don't snap your fingers and he pulls a flower out of his butt and is like, honey, I know you want this.
I would be
then...
really offended
you
if
don't-
that
you
happened,
don't-
actually.
You don't want that.
From behind his back.
The butt flower.
Beach-End makes a good point too. Is that the only way is to schedule
That's
a weekly
right,
divorce
Beach-End.
court.
That's right.
What we
That's
do.
right.
That's what we do.
I almost spit liquid everywhere.
Beach-End makes a good point. Like, what about a number saying more people have issues with love than friends? That's true. And I think this is a situation where like media perpetuate, like, reflects culture, but also perpetuates it, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Which is constantly it's constantly the way it is, right?
If we weren't as obsessed with love as we are, we wouldn't have as many issues with love as we do. I feel like that's like
we're as obsessed with love as we
self-fulfilling
are
prophecy.
because everywhere in our face.
Yeah.
And
Right.
we feel like and to bring it sort of back to that point, I see the harm in what this does to young people's sense of self and self-efficacy and self-completeness for both, you know, young girls and young guys and everything in between that, you know, for everybody. And you know, we could take this conversation to some pretty dark places, but you know, the fact of the matter is that the way that the Hollywood hero's journey story arc is constructed is when you have to think about your Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and at the tippy top is self-actualization, and I have done the thing and become the person I have always been meant to be. What happens when our hero in the hero's journey reaches that point in a Hollywood movie is they get the girl. And that has a very damaging and toxic effect on, I would say, women. I would say young men especially, of like, I cannot self-actualize and become a complete person unless this happens to me. And it's unrealistic because it's a fantasy story, and it doesn't matter how realistic the movies you're watching are, they're all fantasy stories. And so it doesn't work that way.
The problem with this too is when you're trying to write a strong female character, what people do a lot of the time is they keep the same structure, but they just flip everything.
The narrative,
so the female main character also achieves self-actualization by getting a boyfriend.
Right.
Yep.
And you know, you can point to, and I've seen this done a lot, like you can point to one of the big problems with media, like people point out in Twilight, is that like it's literally written as though the most important thing in the world is to have a boyfriend, and there's a character that doesn't have a boyfriend who like lost their boyfriend, and there's another character that has like horrible burn scars on their face, but the author is like, oh, but poor this person because they don't have a boyfriend.
Right.
It is a cycle. It is a vicious cycle.
It is
and
terrible. Neko, I have to say, I agree with that. Everybody wants a happy ending, except maybe people like me who actually really enjoy the tragedies. I want to see everybody die and there to be an awful.
Is right. You know, there's not one. If somebody comes to you and tells you that there's one cause for a big thing, just assume that they're not right. Like there's there's never 100% or a 1-to-1 cause for any of this stuff. So
that's right,
but you guys are absolutely right. There's tons of reasons why this is.
I really do need to make a Flutter Die DIE thing because it comes up like a lot. People write that a lot in my chat.
But that is a good point, Nico, because we've been pointing the finger at Hollywood, and rightly so, and we've been pointing the finger at the Victorians, and rightly so. But when it comes to theater, if you go back to Shakespeare or even earlier than that to ancient Greece, tragedy ends in a funeral and a comedy ends in a wedding.
That's true. That's
and
true.
That's the way it is.
How it is.
I hate Shakespeare and comedies, you guys. I don't hate them. I really dislike them.
Something that we've inherited over a very, very long period of time. Now, I like A Midsummer Night's Dream. What I don't like about A Midsummer Night's Dream is that at the end, when Oberon and Titania say, we're going to wave our magic wand and we're going to make everything right, all of a sudden Demetrius, who dumped Helena, is like, I'm in love with Helena again.
Right, this is
and
okay.
So
this is
I'm going
right.
to make everything right is not, takes away Demetrius's agency, but that's how they looked at the world back then. Right?
Well, that's the whole
way
thing,
it was supposed to be, and so it makes sense to that audience.
The
but to
only
me,
reason I like Midsummer Night's Dream is because it's got flopsy characters that are beautiful because they're just weird. So I don't actually I'm getting through that one is hard for me. I will plow through a tragedy any day, but Midsummer Night's Dream takes forever.
The other thing I was going to pop in and say really quick, because I don't know what people's perceptions are, but I'm pretty sure everyone is going to agree on what I'm about to say. I think it's important to remember that being critical about something that you love is good. Like, I would argue good and important. And just
Absolutely.
because I have criticisms about something doesn't mean it's a bad thing or it's we should cancel it or it's just wholly problematic. Like, there is no media that's just ideologically perfect or pure or whatever. Being able to be critical about the media you consume, I think, is super important, and it doesn't mean that you have to dislike stuff just because there's something that has issues in it, right? So I just want to put that out there too.
It's interesting that you say that because it leads into something that I was just thinking about. But I think it's important to have these conversations because I think that someone who's young and impressionable doesn't necessarily realize how far the media that they're consuming has strayed because it might be what they grew up with and they might not know anything else. We get all of these bad habits from consuming all of this media, and we don't realize unless someone points out, hey, that characteristic that character has is problematic. And one of the things I was just going to say is that we're talking about relationships as you depict them in media. Not every relationship that you see in a good piece of media will be a healthy relationship. Sometimes characters have unhealthy relationships in order to draw attention to the fact that, hey, by the way, this relationship is unhealthy. I'm working on a novel right now that includes a very toxic relationship that one of the characters is struggling to escape. And it's important to write those kinds of relationships in context as well, so that when people see that, because I think another problem that we have, and we could go on a whole rant about this, is that there's the whole trope about I can save this man and I can make him worthy of love if I just freaking love him hard enough. And no, it's an abusive relationship. Stop romanticizing it.
Get out now.
So we need to depict toxic relationships so that, because you never know, someone might be reading that and be like, oh my god, my ex did that, or my current boyfriend is doing that, or my
I can't even
current
tell
girlfriend
you
is
how
doing
many
that.
times I've read something or consumed something and been like, huh, I never thought about that. And it like takes me back to a moment in time in my own life where I'm like, wow, that's really fucked up. Or something.
Yeah.
And I have to say that this examination of relationships and characters in the media also like applies to real life too. Like I tell Megan when I think she's being a jackass, and vice versa. Like girl lets me know. Like you have to criticize your loved ones in order for them to also be better people. You be better people, right? We all want to be better people.
Going back to the topic of Ghost and I's relationship, since the
oh, there we go. Yes.
You can stop anytime. I'm just saying. We don't need to go back to this. We're talking about fictional relationships.
You'll like this one. Flutter was saying that we tell each other, like, we're self-aware of our relationships with each other, right? There was a meme that went around a while back that was like, everybody knows that in the relationship there's one person that's trying not to like smother the other one with their pillow. And when I saw that, I looked at Ghost and I was like, I'm the one who should be smothered by the pillow, and you're the saint who's not doing it. So thank you. It's like, you become aware. Look, I'm just saying.
We all know who we are. It's okay. I'm going to defend her on this one.
There's an important in our relationship. It's me. I'm self-aware of that.
Oh my God. Well, I totally agree. Like, I mean, this is why I would be critical of like this sort of pervasive pattern in media, because like it's not helpful to people.
Right.
No.
Like, sure, I'm not gonna tear someone's escapism away from them. But if all there is escapism just saturating the market, like,
Cyberwolf.
If your escapism is that guy smacked her and then she loved him so hard that he stopped being abusive, no.
I know.
That is on.
Yeah.
Get out.
Well,
yeah.
I think this might be where you're going with it, but you should like evaluate your escapism and what it really says that you're gravitating towards that.
Because like even less insidious things, like before you know anything about a person, you like dropped your stuff and you looked into their eyes and like the mysteries of the universe unlocked, and like you guys were just soulmates destined to be together. Like I don't think it's helpful, because I mean I am not the relationship expert, but like in my experience, relationships are based on like knowing things about each other, having some common interests, and caring about each other and what each person values in the relationship. Like you can't have any of that when you're looking into someone's eyes for the first time.
I believe what you're referring to is the soft focus lens.
Like rose tinted goggles.
Life looking for that, you're going to miss having actual good relationships, because there's not the first time you meet somebody. Like the story of how Flutter and I met is I was walking home from school one day reading a book, because I used to do that shit.
But hold on, before you even get that far, we used to walk to and from school on the opposite sides of streets of each other.
We did, yeah. I was super shy. But one day I walked home reading a book, because I did shit like that back then, and Flutter was like, she's reading a book. She crossed the street and was like, hey, I see you're reading a book. Let's talk about that. She came over, because it turned out that her aunt that she lived with and my grandma, who I walked to her house at the end of the day, lived in the same townhouse complex. So later that day, Flutter comes over to my grandma's house with just an armful of books, and 20 years later, we're still friends. There was no feeling of like, snap,
25, almost 25 years now.
Friends. true. But if we had just been like, oh, we didn't instantly gel, we must not be best friends, I would have missed out on one of the best relationships. And like half of the people
Yeah, I
I'm
had to
talking
wheedle
to right
her a
now,
bit, you
I never
guys.
would have even
She
met.
was a hard nut to crack for a while.
I person. Yeah. I was very, very shy in middle school as well. So
Well, and as a, oh gosh, I don't know if it's necessarily a counterpoint, but like, so the way Shreya, Viola, and we met, I was so one of my older brothers, he was friends with one of her friends, and they were in like a music group together. Anyway, I went to one of their performances. I saw her there playing the piano. I thought, wow, she's really cute, and I invited her over to play board games together. Now, there is nothing
That's
wrong
so
with that.
wholesome.
Like finding someone attractive and going, I want to get to know that person more, right? Like that's fine.
Yeah.
There's no,
Yep.
but like don't confuse my attraction to her and thinking that she's cute or pretty and talented or whatever with a relationship, because those things are
Right.
not the same thing.
Right.
That's what I'm saying, right?
oh
So,
no,
anyway.
totally, yeah. Well,
I have a
I know,
colleague.
B-chan.
I
Wait,
have a colleague
it's a trap. Anyway.
who Megan shall remain nameless, but he met his wife in university and invited her to his dorm room to watch The Evil Dead: Army of Darkness.
Nice.
She thought it was a pretense for something.
Of course
But
she
he
did,
really
because
just
you were invited to a
he
guy's
just- he
dorm
just-
room.
he
What
just
else do you
wanted to-
think,
yeah.
ladies? Let's talk about
He
this.
just wanted
Because
to
of
watch
this
The Evil
culture.
Dead.
That's amazing.
He
That's
did-
so amazing. I love that.
and they're married now, but that story just cracks me up.
That's incredible.
Yeah,
I mentioned it in the chat. I just want to shout out one more time because Cyberwolf was asking. Molly
Oh, yeah.
Phipps is the lady who did the covers.
This
She does all of my
beautiful.
covers. She did.
I think
She also did.
There is a
these.
link. Ghost has the link for
Nope.
that one.
I had it, but I
I
copied.
scrolled back up to find it and I couldn't.
Yeah,
saw it
it's
there.
gone now.
I believe
now,
it's
hold on. I think
we
it's
got you covered.
we
It's
got
actually on
you
the website.
covered.com.
There you go.
Be careful clicking that link because I'm not
It is.
100%
We
sure.
got you covered at bookdesign.com.
And then Ghost gets me banned from Twitch.
Hold
Thank
on.
you.
We got you covered at bookdesign.com. So add book design before the .com.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, no.
Oh, careful.
Conversely, if you go to the Amazon link and open one of my books that she's done the covers for, the
Right,
link is
Val?
right on the title page because I credit the hell out of the people who work on my books.
No, Anian's gorgeous. She did a great job. I love it.
Yes, Val.
Yeah. So just because there's a little break in the conversation, should I do the pronunciation guide? Should I
Let's
tell
do
you
it.
how I
Yeah.
say all
Let's
of my
do it.
characters' names?
You say it, and then I'll say it.
Talk about the
Type them
book,
in
I
chat.
suppose, if we have to.
You can write them in chat. Yeah, that's a good
Something
idea.
relevant.
That's a
I'm
great
gonna write
idea.
names in chat so that y'all can.
Megan, it's not always about your book. The End
Yeah,
of All Things
jeez.
by
Oh
Megan
my
Cutler,
God.
now available on Amazon.
Oh,
Yeah.
exclamation
Come on.
book, guys.
Ridiculous. What
Hold
chill,
on, do the
you
command.
know?
I gotta do the
I did
thing.
it. I got
Thank
it.
you.
Type it in there.
Am I using that right? I'm a boomer.
I'm typing a bunch of names, and then I'm gonna say them.
No, Cyberwolf. So this was actually this one book that she's releasing now was the first part of a trilogy, and now it's 9 books. So she does not necessarily plan sequels ahead of time. They just
Unless you're
happen
in a
as she's
band.
writing them.
Wait, that's all.
Nico.
So holy crow, you just did them all at once. Why would you do that? Okay.
So wait, Megan, is it
Hopefully
my
some people
turn
can
to
look at
guess?
them on
Ooh,
Instagram.
Flumps can guess.
Yeah, you want us to guess?
No,
Let
I was
me
kidding.
answer-
I don't want to
let me
guess.
answer this question quick. So when
I mean, you tell me
when
all these.
I wrote this book, it was only going to be one book, and then as I wrote the book, it grew into 2 books. And then when I figured out what I was doing and I went back and edited it and polished it up, it was the first book was such a long book that I had to break it down into 3. So long story short, it's 9 books now, but it only started as 1. I don't plan my sequels. They just kind of grow as I'm working on them.
That's right.
Them. Okay, yeah. If anybody wants to guess, or I can just say them and then like we can talk about each one.
Go ahead, Flums. Do it.
That one is Liam Barrows.
Liam Barrows, yes, it is.
Yeah, that one's
100%.
Congratulations.
And that's literal there.
It's a littoral.
Littoral.
Yeah, I'm kidding. It's definitely not literal.
Littoral.
That'd be
So
great
we go
though
back.
if it was.
We go back to the first one.
Go to the first one.
It's
yeah.
Alrea Larith. She's the one I was talking about.
That's
before.
the third
She's
one. That's not the first one
Nico,
you
you
wrote
got
in
it
the
right.
chat.
It is the first
Nico
one I
did.
wrote.
You wrote Anton first.
That's amazing, Nico.
No, if you look above the book thing, Alrea is first.
Yeah, you gotta scroll up a
I
little.
took them off of my list, so I have my list.
Well, you've got Alrea there twice then.
Oh wait, I got another one, Gaia.
That's why I thought.
Gaia?
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
And then the next one after that is Cantus Isracal.
Cantus. Yeah.
And then we have Anton Larith, who is Alrea's
This might be your
husband.
most pronounceable cast of characters.
This
Actually.
is probably. Oh,
All
just
right.
wait. Just wait until
Okay.
the next book.
All right.
I stopped
Well,
shy
there is
of
that.
the one. I stepped shy of the one that's really hard to say. The Yagalurarians are in the next book.
That's right. That's right.
Oh, God.
I'll show you what that looks like in a minute.
their names
Imagine
are
it
fun.
in your brain space. And so then we had Salis Isracal. So these are all like the names of the characters at the beginning of the book. So you'll notice that there are established relationships at the beginning of the books. Anton and Elrea are married.
Mm-hmm.
Salis and Cantus are married. Salis and Alrea are brother and sister. And then we have Liam Barrows and Littoral, as we already talked about. What? I believe that I eventually decided that Littoral was his last name. Because I was uncertain when I wrote it. And then we have Maribel Drache. And I say it's Shanace Taylor, but that's a real name,
That's
and
Shanice.
I've never been able to
That is
find out
actually
if it's Shanice.
Shanice in real life.
I've heard it pronounced. I've heard it because I actually looked this
With
up.
an A sound, really?
I've heard it pronounced both ways, so I'm very confused. So if I'm wrong, somebody please tell me.
Shanice.
Because I looked it up and I heard it wasn't when I looked up like pronunciation videos. It wasn't always pronounced that way.
I guess it depends on where
So-
you're from. There's always some kind of accent or something given a location, right?
Well, and I could have sworn that I've heard people called Shanace, but maybe
I
I
don't think
spelled
I've
it
ever
wrong.
heard it said
So-
that way. I've always heard Shanice. It could be.
Yeah.
It could
I've heard Shanace before, but not spelled.
Right, Valkyr. That would make grammatical
so I
sense.
probably-
Shanice.
I probably didn't spell it, but I also sometimes remember my characters' names as they are spelled rather than how they are said.
That's
So there you go. I sometimes pronounce my own characters' names wrong, just so you know. And I promised I would spell out that one name. So
Do it.
here it is. These aren't people that are in the first book, but there you go. Preview of the second book.
Whoa.
I have regrets about creating that name. Now there are some other
She's like, I've had to type it so many times.
there are some minor characters that I'll say the names of as well. Onali is a friend of Alrea's. Borak is Anali's husband. There is the Damek, which is actually a title. Cantus is also technically a title. And then we have Nitandra, who is a singer. We have Hindle, who is one of the counselors on the High Council. Also, Quinal is another of the counselors. And Keld. I I think that's most of the
There are
one.
two
We
of
have
those that I-
Gilthar, Marrow, Turin, Varen. Those are all counselors.
There are
and
two.
military
There are two of
officers.
those names that I say differently, and it was, Onal.
Yeah. So
Yay,
I'll take that one.
Huey! Will, yay! And
That's amazing, Will.
what was the other one you just said? I don't know. There was different names. See, I say it Onal, and it wasn't. I don't know. I
Is
don't.
it Danik?
No, Damek. No, the one before Damek.
Borak?
No.
Nitandra?
Yes, that one. That one. I would have said it Nitandra. Yeah. Or Nithandra, right? There's a TH in it. No,
There's no
there's
H.
not an H. Okay. So I would have said Nitandra instead of Nitandra.
Take care, Will. Thank you for dropping by. I hope
Thanks
I
for
hope-
coming by, Will.
I hope the RAM holds out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yep.
quick question though. Will has.
The screen just turned off.
Oh, Striker, somebody on my Discord said they couldn't come to the stream, but they bought your book for their wife because their wife loves these kinds of things. So
Awesome.
Nice.
I asked them
Nice.
to let us know how they feel about it.
Congrats,
Um,
Rooney.
That's super cool.
If chat is feeling it, I can do an excerpt from the book.
Night.
Any plans for audiobooks?
we can say
Will,
that.
we've actually been talking about that
We've
a
been
little bit
talking about
lately.
it. It's not happened yet. It is in the works. I have two things that I'm trying to
Shiraz.
figure out.
Hey, Shiraz.
Hey, Shiraz. I have two things that I'm trying to figure out. The first one is audiobooks, and I'm talking to Collie and Flutter about making those happen. And also Dan knows things about that possibly happening.
We've talked
in the
about it,
future.
Will.
And the other thing I'm working on is merch. So I need to talk to my cover artist and other people who do merch to figure out how to set up a storefront. But I'm trying to get it so that you can buy things like bookmarks and signature cards, because those will be cheaper than actually shipping a book to me to sign and then shipping it back to you. And possibly t-shirts, if I can make that happen. So those are the things I am working on. I don't have a timeline, unfortunately, because the pandemic is making everything
The pandemic
difficult.
sucks.
Because I do believe that Dan
It's a
offered
nice
us
song.
some of his equipment, but we just can't get to him right now.
Right?
That logo would look very cool.
Yes. Yeah, I agree, Dan.
Super
Mhm.
cool. I love the font
So-
too. Ghost and I were talking about that.
Right,
before
the
stream.
font on the end of all things here.
Amazing.
Fun fact: that's not a
Amazing.
font. It's a vector
Right,
alphabet, which means that when I did the chapter, I can't show you because I don't have a copy of the paperback yet. But inside the paperback, there are labels, chapter labels, because each of the chapters have titles, and each of them are written in the end of all things font. And I had to copy and paste them letter by letter in order to. So I don't have hardcovers yet, Will. I am. Words just suddenly stopped functioning in my brain. Amazon just opened up the ability to do hardcovers to a select few group of indies, and I did get into the beta. So I can make hardcovers, but I have to talk to my cover artist because I can't use the same covers.
Right, because
And
they
they
have the
don't-
yeah.
Yeah, and they don't unfortunately have templates for the hardcovers yet, which might make it difficult. So I don't know a timeline for hardcovers, but it is something that I should soon be able to do. And what I would like to do is, because I talked about before how there were originally 3 books in this series and the bundles still have the original names, I would like to do hardcovers of the book bundles. So Symphony of the Stars, Song of the Spheres, and Soul of the Sun, I would love to do hardcovers for.
Yes. Yes.
But I just don't know yet. So cross your fingers and hope that I can because I don't know if my cover artist will be able to do one if she doesn't have a template. But I will talk to her about it. So a hard
Also-
soft cover.
So this freaking.
My husband, ladies and gentlemen. But remember, I'm the one that should be strangled with the pillow because I'm the annoying one.
Strangled with
You
a
said
pillow.
it, not
That's
me.
a
I
that's
never-
a
I
rough
never said
job for whoever is
I've
doing
never
it.
said that.
If
You
I
know what I
tried to
mean.
strangle,
You know what I mean?
with a pillowcase,
So,
maybe.
chat, do you guys want an excerpt from the book now, or do you want to wait? Should we go back to rambling for a while?
Well, I think an excerpt is a great idea. I just want to ask Cyberwolf. Well, I guess maybe say something.
Well,
Cyberwolf, I think that's really, really awesome. So you've got 3 books set in the same sort of continuum. Man, I love stuff like that. I remember, like, after I
Val.
saw, I think it was after I saw, what was that Star Wars movie that was like set before the Death Star and like
Oh, Rogue One.
Rogue One?
Mm-hmm.
Rogue One, that's the one.
Mm.
I remember watching that movie
Oh,
and
well.
thinking, how cool would it be to actually like get away
Thanks for
from the
coming
damn
by.
Skywalker family and like this is such a fascinating,
great
interesting
universe,
universe with like so much potential, like like a Band of Brothers style thing with like some resistance fighters or like
Yep.
like there's so many ways you could go with this universe, and like all it is this obsession with this one family, and like, well, I mean, I guess now with the sequels or whatever, but like, yeah, it's just like anyway, so I love it when people do like that. So Cyberwolf, that is freaking awesome. And I was gonna ask, so Crystal Dimension and Universe, would this be sci-fi, fantasy, or a mix of both? Because I know that there can be mixes.
So while we're talking about like stories that take place in the same universe, I've talked a little bit about this, but so I basically have a giant multiverse, and it's not yet apparent, even if you read them all, but all of my stories do connect. You can't tell yet. Full disclosure, you can't tell yet because I haven't written the books that connect them yet, but yes, all of my books are connected. And I know how, and I know when the connections will be revealed.
Oh my god. You guys have heard of the multiverse? It's the Meganverse. Holy shit.
I have a
The
Meganverse.
Meganverse.
Actually happening.
It's
That's
a
so
real
cool.
thing.
I love it.
That's amazing.
I know so many of the characters that are in the Meganverse too, in all the different stories.
Yeah, and
So exciting.
Future
guys.
Megan Cutler scholars, please, when you're writing the Wikipedia for this, call it the Meganverse.
Okay,
Just that one thing
I got
for me.
you. I got you. We will make sure that happens.
someday there will be a wiki called the Meganverse.
I'm tucking that in my pocket there, Flumps. I like that. I'm gonna make that happen. That's good.
Excellent.
That's super awesome, Cyberwolf. Are you planning on publishing that in the future? Let us know.
Yes,
I have
please
some
let us
experience
know.
with that kind of thing.
We love these things. Please do.
Mhm.
But yeah, I like, full disclosure, as I say, because you can read through what I have out so far, and you won't find the connections because the pieces that slot them together haven't been published yet. But someday you will be able to read all of my books and see how they connect to each other. They don't necessarily all take place in the same world/dimension, but they all fit in the same multiverse. I didn't do that on purpose either. I didn't plan that. I was laying in bed one night and one of my characters was like, hey, by the way, this, and it just created a giant loop and it blew my mind.
Cyber, you and Megan should get together and talk about your overactive imaginations sometime, because let's talk about.
Yeah, no, seriously,
That's
encourage that imagination.
Do it.
Because it's gonna, don't ever turn that
It
off.
gets better, and the more you use it.
Don't ever turn that off.
Yes.
And don't apologize for it either.
Absolutely.
Foster
Seriously.
that. Keep that positive. Okay, Dan,
Megan, give us an excerpt.
Yeah, Dan voted excerpt now and later, so I'm gonna give us one now.
Oh, yay. 2. These books
yeah.
are so good, you guys. I love them. Sorry.
Because I did read what became the opening scene of this book on stream once before, I will save that one for later, and I'm gonna actually read the beginning of chapter 2.
Ooh.
Instead. And if people are like No, actually, maybe I shouldn't because it's a little bit spoilery. I was gonna say I might read the first
See you,
part,
Hotline.
but it's a
Bye,
tiny bit
Hotline.
spoilery.
Bye, Hotline. Thanks for chilling with us.
Thanks for
Have a great
coming,
night.
Hotline. I really appreciate it. Sleep well.
You too, Hotline.
Oh, look at that emote!
I
That's so
know,
cute.
that's so cute.
Dusty.
I haven't seen the new
Oh my god,
one.
is that dog's name
Is that
Dusty?
new Hotline? That's so
Oh.
Yeah,
cute.
it's Dusty.
He looks like my Dusty.
I was gonna
from
say,
when
he
I
looks
was a
just
kid.
like Dusty. Holy
He
cow.
does. He's
Megan
like
had a
very
dog named
similar.
Dusty, Hotline.
I had a dog named Dusty that looked very similar to that.
Oh my
when I was
God.
Oh wait, it's a different channel.
That's amazing.
Hold on.
So, okay, so I'm gonna read the opening of chapter
I
2.
thought it was Hotline.
If I don't look at chat for a little while, I apologize. Also, maybe the peanut gallery won't laugh through this one.
I will
this
try
time.
not to.
Yeah.
I'll mute myself so I don't do that
Whatever.
again. Sorry.
Chat.
Jeez.
That's
Chat.
me.
It
She's
was
talking
my
about
husband,
me.
my own husband. He's like, "Oh, your characters just that are married have sex with each other." Lol, 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 lol.
He couldn't stop himself. Oh,
Oh.
Sorry,
the last time we had a book chat, you guys got a little bit
in the excerpt.
overly
No, it was
exciting.
it was 2 times. It was 2 times. The last
Oh,
one
was
was pretty tame.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You should read the like the big plot twist, but with no context, so nobody realizes it's a big plot twist.
I'm not
No,
gonna give
because
away-
then you can realize it as you're reading it. You don't do that. All right, let her read. Girl,
okay, I'm gonna,
go.
Hang on. Let me find. Well, I'll just stop where it feels good. Okay, so this is actually the opening of chapter 2. There are dual plot lines in this book. Chapter 1 opens one of them, and chapter 2 opens the other one. So this is the beginning of chapter 2, which is called City of Glass and Light. Eyes half closed, Anton Lareth sank deeper into his chair, allowing the Newsnet's latest images to wash over him. Figures dashed across the screen between bursts of bright laser fire. If not for the nation markings on the arms of their uniforms, the Ruvali's soldiers would have been indistinguishable from their own, which made Anton wonder why they allowed this war to drag on as long as it had. The realization also served as a reminder. He would glean no information from public broadcasts that the Council had not already reviewed. His focus would be better spent elsewhere. Images flickered rapidly across the screen as Anton tapped the arrow buttons on his remote control. Voices tried to speak, managing only clipped syllables before he moved on to the next channel, creating disjointed, incoherent statements. His jaw grew tighter with each headline he scanned, and he slowly ground his top and bottom teeth together. As a counselor, it was his duty to keep abreast of current events. More than once, Newsnet interviews brought important details to his attention, but none of today's broadcasts were useful. Every program seemed ridiculous, more exhibition than information. Some nets had given up on facts altogether. With all this spectacle, you'd think the world was ending. I haven't seen you this aggravated since we planned our wedding. The words drifted through the open doorway of Anton's study. Startled, Anton shifted his gaze toward his wife's grinning face. It was a testament to how well she knew him that the slight tightening of his lips allowed her to identify his frustration. Noting a hint of mischief in her crystalline blue eyes, he graced her with a smile. What makes you so certain it's the Newsnets that aggravated me? Today's council meeting had been long. Even the pleasant smells drifting from the kitchen did nothing to soothe his frazzled nerves. You're home in time for dinner, and you only flip feeds rapidly when they've annoyed you, Elrea teased, leaning over his armchair so her face blocked his view of the screen. They're getting to be as bad as the gossip between council wives, Anton muttered. He deactivated the device. It faded into an opaque square of gray, little more than a faded glass pane protecting a series of decorative artifacts arrayed on the shelves behind it. Gifts from his fellow counselors and a few mementos he had acquired during his travels. Their aforementioned wedding photo perched near one corner of Anton's desk. Alrea's face smiled from its center, frozen in a moment of sheer joy, which had certainly made all the trouble worthwhile. She looked resplendent in her flowing gown, a wreath of flowers perched atop her head. Beside the photo's dark wood frame waited a half-finished proposal covered in Anton's messy notes. After a cursory glance at both, Anton set the remote aside and gathered his wife into his arms. As she melted into his lap, he ran his fingers through her mass of silver curls, setting them dancing across her shoulders. She smelled of lilac, honeysuckle, and a faint trace of dill. He would be content to spend the rest of the evening sitting with her in silence. Work demanded so much of his time, they rarely had evenings to themselves. But given the amount of time she had spent in the kitchen this afternoon, he doubted luck was with him. What's the occasion, Alrea? You've been cooking so long, you must be expecting an entire legion to dinner. Alrea rewarded him with a radiant smile, that mischievous glint still shining in her eyes. Company is on the way, she confirmed, with a conciliatory pat to his shoulder. Anton imagined several of his fellow counselors lounging about his living room, circumventing his desire for privacy by wheedling dinner invitations from his wife, and suppressed a groan. They'd have him discussing politics until the late hours of early morning. Wagging a finger in front of his face, Alrea slid to her feet. It's only Salas, she admonished, and it's only for dinner. A room full of squabbling politicians would be preferable. But because Alrea was fond of her brother, Anton tried not to let his disappointment show. Don't look like you'd rather spend the night in council. Alrea planted her hands on her hips, but a hint of good humor spoiled her stern demeanor. He's visited a lot lately, you have to admit. He shouldn't be alone in that big house. It just reminds him Cantus isn't here. I have you, my love. Salas's heart is far away. A sharp stab of guilt penetrated Anton's chest as he hung his head, duly chastised. These days, most people had close ties to at least one soldier, but no one felt the impact of the war more keenly than Salas Israkel, husband to the Kalteran Empire's most skilled and famous warrior. When the fighting was heavy, Cantus spent most of his time on the front lines, and his husband spent most of his days alone. Double the shame, because Anton much preferred Salas in the company of his husband, who somehow managed to mellow his dramatics. Who am I to begrudge a man a few hours with his sister? Anton relented. Alrea flashed him a smirk that seemed to say, who indeed? But it was obvious she had already forgiven him. He'll be here in a few minutes. I expect you to answer the door. She cast him a sharp look as she made her way back toward the kitchen. And I will stop there.
Tee-hee-hee. I love Salas.
So, speaking of relationships, there's a lot of relationships established in those lines.
Mm-hmm.
Right, yeah. It's like the perfect passage. I like that.
I know, Val, right? I know, you're gonna love it. It's so good. You guys, this is the point, now that she's read a little bit of it, I gotta tell you again, my favorite fucking Megan Cutler book right now. Let's talk about these characters, this story. I have to say series, but I've read more of them than you can right now, so this is great.
Yeah. You're reading the sixth one now.
I'm working on it.
Oh
I
my
have it
goodness.
prepped. I just need to open it and start. Yeah. No, I actually have been thinking about getting that started here soon. I know, I'm behind. Sorry.
One thing that I haven't mentioned, just because I don't feel like this is toot my horn worthy. But toot my hoon. Look, I just read a bunch of stuff.
I love it though. It works. I want to toot my hoon.
I know.
One thing that I don't like to brag about, because it feels like something everyone should do, but I do write all kinds of characters and relationships, and that does include gay, lesbian, transgender, all those kinds of characters, non-binary characters in my books. So, and it's probably fairly obvious by now, but two of the main characters, Cantus and Salas, are a gay couple. So,
and they're beautiful. They're I love them. They're my favorite.
I love them too, but that's just me. I'm biased. I
Guys,
created them.
This series, gosh, like I was saying earlier, the relationships that she writes in these books, I can't say it enough. She does them so well. I care so much about these characters, and everything that they go through. And I have to say, you're gonna love them. It takes you all of like a chapter.
But yeah, I mean, they feel real. And I think it really helps, like, you know, what you're saying. I think representation's important, but I also think it's useful just for the realism, because that's the real life. I mean, so of course they're going to be in your stories, right? Anyway, so.
And one thing I hadn't mentioned before, that's probably kind of obvious from what I just read, but Salas and Anton do not get along.
Right.
So
all of y'all need to write a message. You all need to write a message to Megan after you've read the first little bit of this book and tell her how you feel about Salas, because this is a very interesting topic of conversation between me and her.
We need more.
We need to know.
There's a lot of flutter die in Salas. I'm just gonna put that out there.
That's amazing.
there's some scenes that were directly like inspired by Flutter's experience.
I am also married to a person in the military that has gone a lot, so I think that she probably draws some of her experiences with that.
There was definitely some of how Salas deals with Cantus being away is based on Flutter's actual real life experiences.
And isn't the wisecracking comedy relief talking cauliflower based on somebody who you know as well?
I'm very sad to say that the cauliflower
didn't make the cut. Didn't make the cut.
You're just like chopping the cauliflower.
Yeah, wait, maybe he was in one of the baskets that El Rey carried to the market.
It was Enlightened by Bravery who cut the cauliflower in half. Thank you very much. I've seen the video footage, actual live water.
So good.
Yeah.
That was pretty good. I love the little cartoon eyes on it.
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
It was just, I don't know how he did it, but well, it was a longer passage. There were two things that like kind of jumped out to me. I mean, I think there's definitely a lot more to gush about than that, but I want to reiterate that, and this is true of the previous book that she shared, the Dreamers Do Lie, and what was the second one?
Life is But a Dream?
Life is But a Dream. There you go. And now with this third book, I think you guys are probably seeing a pattern where she, and I think all great authors do this, she makes sure to include all the senses. So the smells from the kitchen, what he's seeing, the touch of her hand on him, like that sort of thing, where you're getting all the senses.
She really puts you in the scene.
You're getting a very like you feel like you're there, right? And I think that's super, super cool.
It's beautiful.
And the other thing I was going to talk about.
Go ahead. No, I mean, just a real short comment on that is like Megan and I have talked about like if she ever gets to put this stuff on film, I'm directing this shit, and she gives me all of the information right there. I just got it right there. Right? I don't even have to do much for that.
That's so good. Because like I just feel like I'm there, And then the other thing that I thought was really cool that I wanted to highlight, that I'm sure you guys have stuff too, but like you get a snippet, you get a small look into the complexity of these relationships and how true that is for like real life relationships with family and in-laws and friend groups and all that stuff, right? Where like not everybody gets along. Exactly. And like these are like, especially when it comes to family, it's people that maybe you'll cry at their funeral, but you don't want to go on vacation with them. You know what I mean? Like there's that difference between. Anyway.
Well,
and people who you have over at your place out of like a sense of obligation almost.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and I establish in those lines that Anton can't stand the idea of having his colleagues over for dinner, but he'd rather do that.
Oh God.
And have dinner with Salad.
So much worse than them.
And worry about punctuation later. I mean, for me, I've done this so many times. A lot of the time.
Hold on, stop. Did I do a thing? I keep muting and deafening. Okay, no, good, go.
Did she mute us from the stream?
Chat, can you hear us?
Can you hear us, chat?
I don't know what just happened.
I think maybe she just muted herself. Okay, all right.
Okay. Oh my God, I was like, what just happened?
We're good.
So for me, I like this is not to brag, but this is like my.
Hey, Woof.
This is my 7th book. So hi, Woof. So for me, a lot of the punctuation just kind of happens due to repetition. Normally, but. As for like making sure all the punctuation is in the right spot, I do that during my editing pass. So the first draft is I'm just word vomiting all over the page. There's typos everywhere. I don't care if the commas are in the right spot. I generally try to get the periods in there and the quotation marks and stuff, but if they're missing, whatever, I can fix them all. I can fix them all later. So my first pass Cyberwolf, lots of authors are, like lots of writers and authors are, and I actually edit for other authors and make sure that they do their punctuation and stuff right. Because I've been so meticulous at it for so long that it's sort of second nature to me. But don't let that stop you if like grammar's not your jam. Because get the story out, and exactly, Val, we'll fix it in post. That is what editing
Fix
is
it in
for.
post.
Yeah, I think it's important.
Do it
I mean,
live.
this is such a great question, and I think such a good answer because, like, I feel like a lot of people worry, oh, there's, like, and some of it's, the self-doubt and imposter syndrome for sure, but they set up these barriers kind of to themselves, and like there are. I mean, I'm not great with names. I can't name any actors or like anyway, my brain doesn't work like that. But I know that there are authors, well-known authors who are critically acclaimed, who are illiterate. They
Basically,
dictate
yeah.
they can't read their own writing. They dictate to somebody who can. So like punctuation and being able to even read and write are not a prerequisite to being an author. If you understand people and you understand the nature of stories, like go for it. Have at it. You can always
If
get that's
you
what
are a
editors and
storyteller, tell your stories.
anyway. Exactly.
And like
Yep.
in your final product, yeah, like the punctuation and the layout and then the formatting and all that is really important, but no one's going to see your first draft except maybe your editor, and probably not your editor because you're probably going to go through it at least one more time before your editor sees it. So do whatever in your first draft. If it's ugly and wordy and the punctuation's wrong, who cares? All it needs to do is exist. Get those words out, get the ideas out, and you fix it all later. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Hey,
Hi, Wolf.
Goose,
Hi,
welcome.
Goose.
And hi, Goose.
Yeah. Also,
Welcome,
Goose,
welcome.
if you fix it in post, you're not doing it live, Ghost. Come on.
I've often like sometimes I'm sitting there editing and I'm like, I don't know how I would like let anyone see this process. Like I found out the other day that as I was editing that I had typed
Right, see you, Val.
Good night.
Okay,
Val.
good night, Val.
Bye, Val.
We'll
Get
see you
some
I guess
sleep.
we're
We
tomorrow.
love you.
I guess we're not doing girls' night later? Question mark.
Oh no.
It's all
I
good.
think we talked about that. I think we talked about that before she set up the music stream, though. Also, we will be there.
She's got a
Yes.
she's got a
She's got a
big fat-
long day tomorrow.
She does have a
That's
long
it.
day
Yeah,
tomorrow, so
Yeah.
She
It's a
said
very
at
big
least 9 hours, so yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, we didn't talk about it.
We
again.
haven't. Yeah, really. It's good.
Yeah.
It's good, Val. Get some
No,
sleep.
Val, it's fine.
Go for it.
Take care.
Oh, yeah.
Should us?
I
We
was
we
just
could
realizing that we
potentially keep
never
going
actually-
after this either way.
Yeah.
But-
That's true.
Girls' night for people, right? What was I even saying? Oh yeah, just don't let anything stop you from telling your stories because you can fix anything but a blank page.
Oh yeah, blank pages are my nemesis. Listen, I can stare at them for hours and hours and hours and never. But part of my problem comes from the fact that if I write something on it, the page is no longer perfect.
Your first draft is
No,
never,
not the
your first draft is
words,
never gonna be
not the
perfect.
actual story. I'm talking about the visual representation of the page.
I
It
see.
no longer
I
is
understand.
pristine and perfect.
Oh, that's funny.
I have a real problem with
Like,
that.
that's
Megan
something
has
that,
witnessed me redo whole pages of work because of one little
makes
tiny
one
mistake.
mistake.
Yeah.
But on that topic, but moving past your highly particular neurosis, the problem of like the blank page and the
I'll be right back.
like getting things rolling and things like that is rooted in the fact that writing is not something like the creative muscle is a muscle that you need to exercise
Oh,
just
yeah.
like you
Oh, for sure.
exercise anything else, and the you need to form the synaptic pathways in your brain that go from I'm going to take this idea and I'm going to express it in writing.
Right.
And so the best way to do it, and this is what I do. You know, I'm an English teacher, so whatever. that counts for
Good
my
for
opinion.
you.
But
I went to college for
what
English and
I
then
do-
changed to theater, so that'll show you exactly where I'm at on that page.
Well, what I do is whether it's academic writing or creative writing.
That's right.
Yeah,
Well,
I'm a teacher, so I don't know anything. You have to whether it's creative writing or academic writing. We typically start off our class with like a 10-minute write about something, and it does. It can be anything. It doesn't need to be. Sometimes I put up a picture of a shark swimming in the air through a forest, and I say write a story about this. And it doesn't matter what they write; they can write
Ghost,
like
I don't know.
if
How
I
many
saw
times
this
you
in
talk
the
about
woods,
your
I would
teaching? I
make a
still wish
friend,
that I
like-
had you as a teacher because you're a fucking amazing teacher.
I know. Every time you tell a story
Like,
from the classroom,
no
I'm like,
teacher of
"Man,
mine
what I
ever
would
did
have
something like that.
Right? Like what I would have given to have Ghost as my
Right?
teacher. Jeez. Oh.
It's fun, and it works that metaphorical muscle, Shiraz.
True, Dan.
Yeah.
And you need to. I'm sure that's true as well, Dan. I'm definitely not a musician, in any respect, but I bet you that's true as well.
Megan, I see your
yeah,
problem
you
with
need to-
this
you
is
need
that
to
you're
exercise
separating
that.
your hair outside of your ear. Mine just goes straight over all of it. That's why I've gotten so quick at doing it.
But if I don't pull my
Metaphors-
hair out from
metaphors
under
with the
the
writer.
thing,
Don't
then
complete
it's
that thought.
uncomfortable.
Then it
Shiraz,
bothers
don't
you. I know.
say-
I just did it until it stopped bothering me.
Wow.
But this is what I
Metaphors are
do. You put on a costume until you
Yeah.
can work in it regularly. That's how you do it. That's what you do as an actor. So that's how you do it.
But I heard Ghost was talking about, creativity as a muscle
Mhm.
and you use it, and it I'm at the point now, I used to struggle to write 1,000 words a day, in one whole day. And now I sit down in the morning between 10 and 12:30 and I write 3,000 words on the daily. Sometimes more. Sometimes if I'm really on the ball, on Tuesday this week,
Girl is
I
a
wrote
machine.
9,000 words.
9,000
I
words.
wrote-
One day.
I wrote 5,000 in the
Yeah,
morning.
girl.
I wrote 5,000 in the morning, and then I wrote another 4,000 in the afternoon. I didn't plan to write that much, but I was on a ball. It was rolling,
But you
and I
do
did it. Now that's an insanely good day for me. That is not normal.
Mhm.
But when I first started this, I could not dream of writing that many words
Yeah.
in a day. So you have to start small. You have to work your way up.
Mhm.
And even in terms of not fiction writing, I suppose it's a form of creative writing. It's like your academic writing or whatever. I found I could back in uni I could bash out like a 2,000 word essay in a morning, right? If I had the outline ready, which was that took me multiple days to get the outline ready and the sources and things like that. But then the actual writing the essay was like a Saturday morning,
See,
and I'm done.
This divides
and-
you
It was
from
not
people
9,000
like me
people.
who were the night before the thing
Yeah.
was due, changing the tracking and
Right.
kerning in the document to make it look like it was longer.
Right.
They know.
But then
Teachers
but
know.
I know they
found-
know, but
found,
I just had to do it because 30
found-
pages. 30 pages is a
found,
lot.
I found one of my old essays while we were moving, actually, from university, and it's one that I got I won some $500 award for it or something like that. And I was like, oh, is it this whole thing? And I flipped through it, and I was like, man, who's this actually intelligent person? It's like,
Wasn't that an essay?
man, I used to be smart.
Wasn't that an essay defending anarchy as a valid form of government? Isn't that what
Yep.
you won the award for?
She types cyber with a clicky clacky keyboard that's like the noisiest thing on the face of the earth.
I didn't
here,
say
I'll type
5,000.
it.
It was not 5,000. It was not 5,000.
You can listen to it.
Ghost. I would
I don't know
love
if I can
to
hear it.
read that if.
Not as
I don't
much
know
as
if
you
I have it.
can.
I'll see if I have it.
Okay.
I'll see if I have it. It's
That sounds really cool.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was true.
Yeah,
but I
see-
might keep
yeah.
it very loud.
Mhm. Yeah, it's like an old school typewriter. Oh man, I used to have an old school typewriter. I love that thing. was amazing.
Have you ever seen?
That's pretty. They make a great sound.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen the video of somebody who brought an old school typewriter into a university lecture? And the prof is lecturing. It's just like
No, I need to see this. Oh my god, that sounds amazing.
That's amazing. Oh my gosh.
I will say my late drafts. I do so my first 2 drafts. I type everything by hand, and my first draft I do silently. But my later drafts I do read out loud. So I do eventually read all of my stuff out loud to myself.
Well, that makes sense because then you hear your mistakes because you don't read them.
Yeah.
You skip over them when you read them. But if you read them out loud, you hear them.
Yeah, and things.
Your brain can just fix them if you just.
Exactly. Yeah. And dialogue has a certain cadence that you want it to have. So if you're reading it out loud and something breaks your cadence, then you know that you need to fix that area.
No wonder, huh? I hardly ever have. That was a thought that I had that I should say. I hardly ever have problems with when I'm reading Mega's books for betas with grammatical or issues with that kind of thing. Like, it's very rare that I come upon a part where I'm like, this caught me up. I'm not sure what's happening here. But usually it's because there's like a moment in a scene instead of rather like a thing grammatically that happened, right? Like, there's just like, wait. This sentence doesn't work for me. Like, that's how
I make mistakes sometimes. I once wrote glowing gloom by accident. I meant growing gloom.
I feel like I remember that.
But one of my betas was like, this metaphor just isn't working for me. I don't really get it. And like, she tried so hard to like make that work for her, and I felt so bad because it was just a typo.
Just a typo.
That's so good.
That's what we do, though. We try to put together the shit that she's saying and make sense out of it.
Yeah,
and sometimes we have to be like, I don't really get this. This is
full disclosure, I do not use an editor because I actually edit for other authors. I'm very meticulous in editing, and I feel like any editors that would be available to me, like the price that I would pay for them, I get more out of just doing it myself. So I don't use an editor, so I rely very heavily on my betas to find my mistakes, because I do make mistakes. And I don't always get, the plot details right, or I'm not always doing the scene right. So I have a very dedicated pool of beta readers. Shout outs, Flutterdye is one of them, Wolf's one of them. My mother-in-law is actually one of them, and like when she finishes one of my books, she like sends me an email and she's like, next book now, pulls.
Nice.
She is very dedicated, and I rely on that feedback very heavily, because if I've made a mistake that needs to be caught before the final book goes live, my betas are the people who do that, who serve that role for me. So it's very valuable, and like I know most indie authors do use editors. Some of them use me as an editor.
Wow. And the flourish and everything.
That was beautiful. Oh my god,
Yeah,
that's so funny. You eat the raspberry.
Oh my lord.
Shiraz came to like hang out and talk about books and see girls night, and now he's just getting told
See,
to,
Shiraz, raspberries aren't so bad. That's okay. I can deal with raspberries, right? Yeah.
fetish.
my favorite thing, Shiraz, in all honesty, is how you lean into that.
Yeah, your yes anding is perfection, Shiraz. You are really good at that.
I thought if throughout the night, if I upped the ante, you would keep up and not rage out at me, and here we are.
Yeah.
I said to Ghost earlier today, because he mentioned it, and I was like, you're lucky that Shiraz has that kind of humor, because other
She was worried. She
I
was
was
worried.
tiny
I
bit
was
worried
not.
when
She
it
was,
started.
she was in chat being
When you
like,
were like,
don't say that.
when you were like, you're the stud, you're gonna watch all of your children die. And I was like, some people would not find that funny. I do. That's my brand of humor. My way. I have a very, very, very dark
It
sense of
was
humor.
beautiful, I gotta say.
Most people don't. So when Shiraz was like leaning into that, I was like, all right, keep it us. Um,
It's gorgeous.
That's amazing.
but I was like, I told him today, I was like, you're lucky Shiraz is our kind of humor, because if you had said that to someone else, they might have been like, whoa, buddy.
Yeah.
Shiraz, I'm with you. You and me, same page.
Listen,
Seriously.
I'm there too. I like that. Yeah.
I have a
Look-
very dark sense of humor.
Look, all it takes is 10 minutes of playing Vermintide 2 with somebody, and you know everything you need to know about them. everything about you is
Seriously.
laid bare.
I
It's the
haven't
best
played
first
that yet, you
date. That's
guys.
what I
We need to do
recommend
that.
to
There
Vinyl.
we go, yeah.
Are we doing that? We're
Yeah,
doing that, right?
the exception to what
Oh,
Collie
yeah.
was saying about you can't know anything about anybody from staring in their eyes. It takes time to bit. The exception to that is play around a Vermintide with them,
That's...
And then there you go.
and then you know.
Humor isn't dark enough for me.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, Dan, I'm with you there. See, that's where I go.
I'm gonna lose all my friends when they play V2 with me.
Oh, Vinyl, no, you will only make better friends.
No,
I
you
promise.
won't.
I
It's
promise
no.
we're gonna love you more.
Awesome, Cyberwolf. That's awesome.
Oh, that's
Amazing.
amazing. Awesome.
So that was
Cyber.
that was the excerpt, the for now excerpt.
I love it.
I don't know how we got to Shiraz eating raspberries from that, but we did. Thanks to my
I saw,
husband.
I saw
It
my
made
opening.
sense as the conversation
saw
went
my
long.
I'm gonna
It
need.
made sense in context, but I can't
another
remember
drink
either.
soon.
Yeah, right? I'm gonna need more too.
That's amazing.
So, so this book is a part of. I don't know if I should say that. Maybe I shouldn't say that. Something about the third trilogy being different.
So there's 6 books, and then there's a time jump, and then there's 3 more books. That's
Yes.
fine.
Okay, okay. So it's a part of 9 books, but the third trilogy it jumps.
You can, yeah, you can
different-
stop after book 6 if you really want
Right.
to.
So if you're
verse
like
3.
not dedicated enough to be like, oh my god, there's 9 books coming. Try the first handful,
yeah.
but by the
Or
time
if
you're
you
through
get to
them,
the-
you'll want to read the next ones anyway. So
If you get to the end of book 6 and you're like, I'm happy with this
right,
ending.
I'm happy with this conclusion. I'm done.
There are 3 more books. You will be.
Right,
dedicated.
that's what I'm saying, Wolf. You'll want to keep going no
talking
matter what.
about-
That's...
Talking about my betas, here are some interesting things that people have said to me as my beta readers. One morning, I think it was when it was one of the first 3 books, so it was somewhere in Symphony of the Stars. We were visiting Ghost's parents, and it was the day that we were supposed to come home, and I got 2 texts from Flutter. The first one said, "You fucking monster," and then the second one said, "Have a good flight."
You fucking monster! Have a good life. Oh my god. Yes.
That was one of them.
She
Dan, that's
she
true.
tears your heart right out of your chest and stomps on it.
If you can make it through the Wheel of Time
You can
series
make
in
it
its
through the Wheel of
entirety, then you can make it through anything.
Oh, Dan, have you read the Eddings books? I feel like Megan
No,
won't
it's
be mad
fine,
if like the
Cyberwolf.
Eddings
No,
books are
Cyberwolf.
12. There's
Absolutely.
good there.
This is the place for
It's
it.
good.
It's
But
not
this
just about me
isn't-
tonight. It's about
Oh,
everything.
absolutely. No, books, right. Read the
But
books.
another one from more recently, one of my chapter titles, Wolf said you should change this to Wolf is dead, he drowned in his tears.
Amazing.
So that was a message. Also, there was one of my beta readers in one of my books left me notes, like, because everybody leaves me notes throughout, right? So she specifically asked me not to kill off the characters that died in that book. I felt
Of course.
so bad because there were specific people that she attached herself to, and she was like, "I'm gonna be so upset if this character and this character die," and then.
Good morning, Marathon.
Highlight Marathon.
Welcome.
Dan, I just wrote in the chat
happy
which
Saturday
books I was
morning.
just talking about. They were my like intro to sci-fi, or not sci-fi, fantasy books, and they're my favorite ever. So yeah, if you haven't read them, please, please, please go ahead and read them. I mean,
Right on.
outside of Megan's books, because obviously I'm anticipating. Listen, you guys, I am also anticipating books that Megan is writing that she hasn't even started writing yet because I knew some of the stories when we were in school together. Like, oh my god, I'm so excited about Rose's stories, for instance. And so, like, these are characters you won't hear of for another 10 or 15 years, probably, till she gets around to getting them on paper.
I know more about Rose's story now than I
I'm
knew in
so
high
excited
school.
about these.
Learned things. Well, if you're very good at putting your emotional reactions in there.
Oh,
I
yeah.
haven't read any Brandon Sanderson. And
I haven't yet either.
I need to try it out. I need to dip my foot in. Because I have a couple really good friends.
It's true,
Say that.
Cyberwolf.
I
I
mean,
mean, I think if a character has to die, then
a character. Listen, she didn't kill enough characters in those books. If you ask me, there were people that needed to die, namely Harry Potter. That she didn't follow through with. So I feel like she just did not go far enough. Listen, I like tragedies, though. This is me talking about Shakespeare and his my favorite is Titus Andronicus. Everybody fucking dies. Everybody fucking dies. At the end of that.
Kill them all.
In the Stormlight Archive, I think you've recommended that one to me before. I have such a reading list. My reading list is like 10 years long.
Oh god, yeah. I've got physical books that I've never read. And I have like a million more electronic books that I haven't read yet either. That's because I'm busy betaing for Megan.
I did watch for the Stormlight Archive. There's a YouTube channel called the Templin Institute, who also has a fantastic Stellaris live stream series to the point where the Stellaris live stream series was like he made a partnership with the Stellaris developers because they loved his live stream series.
What is he doing? Like writing a...
Well, the Templin Institute is a YouTube channel that is basically a masquerading as almost like an SCP kind of organization that gives intelligence briefs on like different worlds, and it sort of tells the lore of like these different worlds from different perspectives.
That's funny.
And they did one on the Stormlight Archive and all about like the world and the flora and fauna in the world, and it sounds really interesting.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Marathon, we've been talking about Megan's book, which is right here. This lovely thing.
Mm-hmm.
Go read it. It's amazing. It's available. Oh, here, book. Do the thing. Book. It's too many O's. Book. She just released this, and it's a space opera. It will consist of 9 books altogether, but this book is the beginning of it, and it is an amazing journey. All the good things.
She was gonna say a fucking amazing, just so you know. I don't know why she stopped.
I don't know why I stopped.
Gonna say.
You know, it's a Christian family-friendly stream.
It is space. There is space in it, Shiraz.
Space is involved.
Yes, there is space involved. It gets more involved as the series goes on. But
if you think about it, everything takes place in space.
Goose, if you want to write a story, I would say write down everything that you currently know about the story, and then just look at where your goals are.
Because if you don't, you will forget. Fill in your holes. That's right.
Are there fairies? Not in this book. There aren't fairies. Have I ever been woken by a dream inspiration? I don't usually like get up out of bed and start writing right away because I'm an extreme insomniac. So if I'm even remotely close to sleeping, I don't get out of bed. But I did used to, for years, keep a notebook next to my bed and jot down ideas if I woke up from a dream. And that actually trained me to hold on to my dreams. So now I'm at the point where I can get up in the morning and I can go to my computer and write down what I dreamed if I have an idea that I want to use. But I do dream stories a lot. Actually, all of the books that I've published so far have come originally from dreams.
Look, I am in space right now. This is a thing that is happening, y'all.
Literally, this is a Christian Minecraft server. Jesus fucking
Goose,
Christ.
I know. Listen.
I'm assuming it drew the same questions. Oh, one thing, because we've been talking about relationships, so I actually I'm starting to write a series of blog posts about the world building and stuff for this series of novels to promote them on my blog. And the one that I wrote today was about the mythology. So, fun fact, for this book series, I actually built my own mythology from the ground up. Brand new, like I created my own gods and my own stories. And one of the things that
Go to her website and sign up. You get 2 free stories. Sorry.
You do. They're not related to this one, but
they're not related to this, but they're good.
But they're good. It's a sci-fi story and a fantasy story. I have ADHD. I'm usually never asleep. Well, I understand the feeling of never
Solidarity.
Being
ADHD.
Oh,
I got
Goose, thank you. That means so much to me. But yeah, so one of the things that I wanted to do, I kind of talked to Ghost a bit about this. He's up there. He's on my screen. He's over there.
But... I know on my screen he's down here, but over there.
I know our screens are not synced with the screens that are you're looking at. You guys, we're all in different places. Like Megan is down here for me,
I'm right here.
and this over here is Flumps. So I.
So one of the things that I tried to do was, because if you look at real life mythology, it's not just myths aren't just one way, because all of these were regional beliefs at one point in time. So if you look at mythology as a whole, there's a lot of contradicting stories or events that are attributed to several different gods and that sort of thing. So I wanted to create that effect with my mythology as well. So I actually created contradictions for my own mythology. But my favorite story that I came up with for mythology is relevant to character relationships. It states that so there are basically, there's kind of 4 gods, but there's kind of 8. So I basically went elemental. There's a god of each element, but they each have a female and a male aspect. And so the male and female aspects of fire are Lateo and Osaria. And they're basically warriors. They are sometimes siblings and sometimes lovers, because that's how mythology works. And they fought wars together and fell in love. And their domain is the sun. That's where their hall is. But Lateo is also, even though he's married to Osaria, in love with Melera, the sea goddess. And in order to woo her without drawing the attention of his wife, he takes the form of the moon. So he's technically both the sun god and the moon god.
That's really good.
He takes the form of the moon.
I like that.
And that is why they believe that the ocean is attracted to the moon, because they're in love.
Oh my god, Shiraz, what the fuck?
Oh, thank you so much, Shiraz. Thank you so much.
A Christian Minecraft stream,
Shiraz,
right?
you're
Oh my
my best friend. Can we please just get together more? I think that the way that this goes, you're so beautiful right now to me. That's amazing.
Lord.
That was the best thing in the world you could have possibly said at that moment. Yes.
Mateo takes his raspberries with him to the moon so that he can do the thing with Melera. But eventually, Osaria always finds out that Lateo has gone off to be with.
Of course she has.
And she
Dude's
demands.
been calling in late from work every night.
Exactly. So she demands that her husband come home.
Get your ass
As
back
she
home.
demands that all great warriors eventually attend her in her hall. And so the moon waxes and wanes as Leteo goes home to the sun to be with his wife, but eventually drifts away and returns to be with Valera, the sea goddess. And that is the cycle. And when Osaria
It's so cool,
I love
you
it.
guys.
It's
Oh
such
my
a good
gosh, I love
mythology.
this stuff.
As a
when
as a
Osaria's
mythology
really
person,
pissed off, that's when you gotta watch out, because that's when an eclipse happens.
right? This is
Oh.
good. This is good. I love it. This is a great. I have looked at
amazing.
mythologies the world around because it's one of my very. I was a religions minor in college, but it was because I loved the stories of religions and the way that they worked. And if you go, like she says, they're different from region to region, but at the same time, there are so many very similar stories. They're all the same. You know, you've got a sun and a moon, and you know, you have some representation of
change,
all of these
but
things.
the events are the same, yeah.
Right. But this is a very fun and original interpretation of that story, and I love it. It's so good.
I like
Well,
that.
thank you.
We watched. We've been getting into Cosmos with Neil deGrasse Tyson, and
Yes. Great
and
series.
Super
talked
good.
about how people like
Yeah,
ancient
yes.
people use the heavenly bodies to predict like seasons and
That's
like
where
the-
your astrology
the
came
moon
from.
and yeah, and so they use the stars
Pisces rule.
and the sun and the moon and what's happening with them to predict all these things and understand all these things, and that becomes religion after a while, right? And you know, the stories they tell their children, their children take more literally over time, and you know, they change, and
Oh yeah.
and the one thing that blew my mind, actually, the little piece of trivia was that they when something disruptive came to the skies, it was, you know, a bad portent, right? It's a
Right.
bad omen. It's
Bad
like
omens.
a comet, right? Or a falling star, or things like that. Were
Because they
created
happened
with
rarely, and we
panic.
want the bad things to happen more rarely in our lives. So
And yeah, and
we associate that.
little piece of trivia that I got from that: the word disaster in Greek literally means bad star,
Yep.
which blew my mind. I thought that was so cool.
Well, and
Yeah.
it was interesting too, because that same episode talked about how in China, like, they had a different meaning for how many tails the comet might have. And in ancient China, they very meticulously believed that the heavens dictated the earth, to the point where, like, great generals would decide their strategy in a war.
Chinese
based on
astrology, we're still celebrating. That just
tactics,
happened. The New Year's just came around.
based on what was happening in the sky. So
Right?
I was like, yeah, it makes perfect sense that, like, whatever, like, that they would be so meticulous that it wasn't just a comet means this type of comet means this type of disaster. And like, having read, and I know Ghost has read this too, having read Romance of the Three Kingdoms, and like, they constantly talk about in there about like there's this whole plot line about how Kong Ming knew that he was fated to die because his star was falling out
Because
of the
that's
sky.
what his
and
star. Yeah.
he performed a ritual for 6 days to ask the heavens to keep his star in the sky. Like, that's how, like, this is obviously fictionalized. That's not
Right.
you
Can
know,
I
it's
just tell you
romanticism
though?
history, but that's
Listen,
what they believed.
I
Hey, Festos.
of all.
Hey,
Hi,
Festos.
Festos. Welcome. I have to say, as far as Chinese astrology goes, I was born in the year of the rat, and can I tell you something? The rat, that was 2020. Hi, you're welcome. That was us.
Holy.
I was like, oh, it's my year. And then there was the plague, and I was like, oh my god, it's a rat, and it's a bubonic. It's like the bubonic plague is back again. Sorry, you guys. Let's talk about how the Chinese might have had something there.
That's funny.
I would like another. If Ghost doesn't
Ghost,
mind.
get our author another
grabbing
drink,
me one.
please. How dare you say no? What?
I
I'd
didn't
love
say no. I'm just shaking my head.
Oh,
I
okay.
love
Go get her a
the-
drink.
As if I'm some sort of waiter.
But
No,
she's the guest of honor right now. She's talking about her book.
Yeah.
I
That's
was gonna
true.
say that if people want to get drinks, I could read another
Ooh,
excerpt.
good idea.
Because
I
then
might
no
do
one
that.
else needs to like
Oh,
be
no,
at
I
the
guess I have enough
desk.
wine to last a little bit.
If the rest of you want a bio break or something, I can do that.
Sure thing.
Sure.
But first, farewell, Goose.
Enjoy
Good
the
luck,
lurk,
Goose.
Goose.
Good night,
Have a good
guys.
night.
Enjoy your lurk.
Take care, pal.
Yeah.
I have
And good luck on your
BTTV,
small
but I
project.
don't know how to use it, Shiraz. I'm sorry. I have it. I have it. I promise you it's there.
I'll get on a Discord call with you sometime, Flutter, and we can go through it together because
Please.
it does take a little bit of setup and it's a little bit finicky.
Zerp.
to
And
get
it's
it
just
to actually
too,
work.
it's too, I don't know.
you.
Zerbs, thank you for the
Oh, you
raid.
got a
Oh
raid.
my gosh.
Zerps is rating you.
You're wonderful, thank you.
Hey, Zerps.
Oh,
Thank
welcome to
you.
Zerps and Zerps people. Oh my
That's
gosh.
too funny. I've got to close another tab because you
Oh
guys
gosh,
keep raiding.
go get a
I've
drink,
got
Ghost.
double
I'm
tab
gonna talk about things here. You
I
guys,
don't have the shout out working, unfortunately.
we are talking about Megan. That's her website and her book that she released recently called The End of All Things. Please go and check that out. I can tell you it is my favorite of Megan's released books so far.
And it didn't work for. Oh, vinyl's not a mod. Okay.
Oh wait,
That's why it
why?
worked for
What?
him. But it doesn't work for me. The
It
shout
should
out
work
never
for
worked
everybody.
me.
Oh, the shout out thing?
Vinyl's a mod. It's because
she was trying to shout out
they
Prince
put
and
the
it didn't-
at. It's because they put the at.
Oh,
Oh. Okay.
I didn't put that.
interesting.
Yeah.
What? Why would that not
Vinyl
do
is a
it?
mod.
I have to
Look,
put an
what?
at.
I was just enraged
Name-
that it didn't
name-
work for vinyl.
Name a Twitch channel that Vinyl is not.
I
a mod.
have to use an at.
Vinyl
Well,
is
listen,
like-
I was just
I mean,
telling the Flutter Hubs
most
today
of it-
that the reason why Vinyl is amazing is because she just enters a channel and like people automatically mod her because she's so good at it. She's
very good at it. Yeah.
It's one of the I should say one of the reasons why Vinyl is amazing. But
Vinyl is very amazing for many reasons.
yes.
All right. While you're reading, I'm gonna go get.
Yeah.
something
So
else.
earlier I read the opening of the second chapter. I'm gonna read the opening of the
Vinyl,
first
I act
chapter
too.
now.
I don't know why that wouldn't work for you.
It didn't work for me the other night either. That's why I was like, how
That's
come it
so
worked for Ghost, but it
weird.
didn't work for me?
Because it
and
works
it didn't
for
work
me
for
with
Vinyl.
that.
Because when we were
That's
doing the
odd.
D&D stream, we were trying to shout out people, and it wasn't working. And then Ghost just waltzes in here and just makes everything work
Huh.
for some reason.
That's so strange. Anyway, do
Okay.
your thing. Read an excerpt. Tell us.
So
what's
I'm
going on.
gonna read the earlier I read the opening of chapter 2. I'm gonna read the opening of chapter 1 now. I read this on
Yay!
stream once
Ooh,
before.
this is my
but it
favorite.
should be-
I love this
It
scene.
should be slightly more polished this time because I see you, Vinyl. Festos, why are you in a bad mood?
Oh, Festos.
Oh no.
Oh no, you said a bad mod. Okay.
Oh.
Oh.
Oh. She said mood and we all misread it. Can I just say?
James correcting text, like, holy,
Bad.
that's hilarious.
Okay. This is so the second chapter was called The City of Glass and Light. The first chapter in this book is called The Dragon's Descent. I'm not going to read the whole chapter, but I'm going to read the opening of it. The stench of burnt flesh and charred brick stuck in Gaia's nose for weeks, while the crash and shriek of rending metal echoed in her skull. But those weren't the most horrifying things about the day her life fell apart. It wasn't the gout of fire that spilled from the weapon's mouth, nor the doom-filled shadow that fell across the sun. It was the awful grace with which the metallic dragon moved through the sky over Prague, the mesmerizing way its neck dipped just before it unleashed the first killing blast, and the tight curl of its tail following its body's wake like something out of a dream. She stood on the balcony outside her study, hands gripping the protective rail so tightly her knuckles turned white, her jaw hanging slack as she watched the weapon's descent. She couldn't hear the horrific screams until someone grabbed her shoulder and dragged her inside. Gaia, what the hell are you doing? We have to get out of here. That's the thing they've been talking about on the news, Shanice, Gaia replied, too numb to register her companion's urgency. the near-Earth object approaching at high speed. Scientists had spent the last 3 days debating whether or not the object would strike Earth, but they hadn't been able to get a clear look at it. She would have heard about it being dragon-shaped. Shanice gripped Gaia's shoulders, her dark fingers digging deep into Gaia's flesh as she gave her another savage shake. Snap out of it. We can speculate on that thing's extraterrestrial origins later. Right now, we need to focus on surviving. As if to punctuate her words, a harsh blast tore across the street outside. The answering explosion sent a wave of heat through Gaia's open doorway, driving both women deeper into the room. Gaia yelped, the gravity of the situation finally eroding the shock that held her motionless. It's going to tear the entire city apart. She grabbed Shanice's wrist, pushed her long silver curls away from her face, and ran. Chaos greeted them in the hallway as scientists abandoned their labs, carrying binders full of notes as they scrambled toward the nearest escape routes. Discarded papers littered the floor like new fallen snow. This way, Gaia and Shanice said at the same moment, each trying to walk in the opposite direction. They stopped when their arms reached full extension, unwilling to let go of each other. Where the hell are you going? Shanice demanded. Her ebony cornrows whipped over her shoulder as she snapped her head in Gaia's direction. The stairwell is this way? She pointed in the direction of the fleeing crowd. But the array is this way, Gaia insisted, tugging Shanice's arm, though she didn't manage to budge her more than an inch. Have you gone mad? There was an edge of panic in Shanice's voice. We're gonna die if we stay here, and the array is too big for the two of us to manage. But, Gaia protested, sure a team must have already gathered to dismantle the delicate piece of computer equipment. If there was one thing the world could not afford to lose today, it was their most powerful deep space communications array, especially if deep space really was where the dragon came from. Shanice didn't have to interrupt this time. A muffled explosion rocked the building, sending a wave of screams through the hallways as scientists threw themselves to the floor, bracing for the worst. Gaia wrapped her pale arms around Shanice. It took several seconds to realize they were on their knees, clinging to each other like frightened children. Their wide-eyed gazes locked, and each silently agreed never to speak of this moment again. They rushed to their feet and scurried down the hallway, darting around overturned chairs and shards of broken glass. Here, Gaia tugged Shanice's arm again as they rounded a corner and came upon the elevator bay. It was shockingly empty. Gaia rapidly tapped the call button as if that would summon the mechanical Hulk faster. You can't use an elevator in an emergency, Shanice protested. You want to run down 30 flights of stairs? Gaia countered. The elevator will get us to the ground faster. And if one of those explosions hits this building, it will dump us into the shaft at speed and flatten us into pancakes. No way, honey. Shanice pushed her toward the stairwell, but Gaia dug her heels into the floor. If one of those explosions collapses this building, we'll be as dead in the stairwell as in the elevator. I'd say speed is more important than... Another bang set the building shimmying, and Gaia was suddenly glad she wasn't in the elevator, especially when the fluorescent lights overhead flickered and went out. That answers that, Shanice muttered, seizing Gaia's arm and dragging her toward the stairwell. And that is where I shall stop.
Okay, can I just one moment with that? Oh, they looked at each other after that, like, oh, we'll never talk about this again because we hesitated on our way down to safety because of a computer. I just gotta say that is so real life. I would totally stop and be like, okay, I can get that. I've got time to do the thing.
Well, and then she's like, hey, let's take the elevator. Like,
right, let's take the elevator, who everybody knows is like, no, don't do that.
Oh, I love your guys' little blanket emotes while I was reading.
I know, so that was great.
I know, they're all snuggled up listening to the story.
Oh my god.
So that's how the story opens.
That's how it starts.
So now you've seen the hot opening and the cool opening, the two different plots of the book start.
Oh my gosh! And wait until you know why they're connected.
Now you know.
I can't.
I kept this background.
I know, yeah. The dragon is so relevant, amazingly, and it's one of the best things in the world. I gotta say, I have Megan and I go way back talking about dragons from Anne McCaffrey. We love the whole dragon thing, and when she put this dragon in this book, and she wrote this dragon in, and I was just like, he's my favorite. He's now my favorite dragon ever. I love it. It's tragic.
talking about
Ooh,
No.
thanks, Ghost.
Oh,
Thank
special
you.
delivery?
Ghost.
Are you
Ooh,
doing
what
this
kind
one?
of drink is that?
I think it's rum and ginger. I'm assuming it's rum and ginger.
Yay. Oh, I
Thank you.
love this entrance. It's so crazy. First chapter right out the gate, you're just like, oh my god, people are like running
And
from
so,
disaster.
fun fact,
Really cool.
now that you've heard them both, when I originally wrote the story, the second chapter was the first
That's
chapter.
when I read it first.
But I changed it because reasons. But
Yeah.
it works a bit better this way
It
to throw
does.
people into action.
Yeah,
I don't
that
always
first
start
thing she read
with
was what I
destroying the
read
city.
first. The first time
Yeah.
I read it.
So yeah, so now you know what you're getting into if you pick up the book.
It's
so
so good,
cool.
guys. Please, please,
Thank you
please
so
go
much for
go
sharing.
go to Amazon and buy this book. Or if you've got Amazon Prime, you can read it on Prime. Go ahead and do that thing too.
If you're subscribed to Kindle Unlimited, you can read it on there. I do get paid a little bit per page. It's not as much as a sale, but it's appreciated. So don't hesitate if you can read it on Kindle Unlimited.
Yeah.
Just make sure your Kindle's online, or that you connect your Kindle online shortly after reading it, so that it can detect that you've read the pages.
Right. Because it'll pay
And
her
that's-
when you read.
Yeah, and then I get paid for that. So yeah, no guilt if that's how you read your ebooks. Authors 100% do get paid and get supported from that, so it is appreciated.
Worth it. I can tell you that right now. Worth it. Go get a book. Yeah, moments in a collapsing building. Fantastic opening for a book.
That's such a cool opening. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Like I've got so many questions that
Well,
I need
and it-
answers to now.
Honestly, as a person who was aware during 9/11, and when the Trade Centers collapsed, right? Like that moment is big. That moment of, like I said, her and Shanice being like, "We're never going to talk about this again." I had a moment like that in high school, which I still don't feel comfortable talking about, which I'm not going to really, but it brings back a memory for me of that, like this huge, crazy tragedy, something, you know, but in a smaller portion of space and time. Like different people are having different experiences with it, and
it's funny that you say that, because I very firmly believe that the way to tell a story about trauma, and Ghost hit on this earlier when we were talking about WandaVision, the way that you actually convey like how terrible a trauma really is not by showing an island falling on a country. It's by zooming in on a single individual and showing their personal experience. And so that's sort of what space opera is all about, is that you've got these vast sweeping things that are happening. Like if you remember the earlier scene that I read, you know, Anton was watching footage of a war. But the focus is on the main characters and how they interact with those tragedies and those traumas. And that's what, like, because we started watching, I believe it was called Carnival Row, which was an interesting show, but the opening scene was a bunch of nameless characters that you didn't even know running through a forest getting shot. And it's very hard to connect to those characters and feel sympathy for them, because I don't know who they are. I don't know what they're running from. I don't know what's going on. If you give someone enough time to attach to a character, you have just enough time to get into Gaia's head as this is happening, and you zoom in and show that personal experience, that's how you convey fear, love, anger, like all of the emotions, all of the experiences. It's much easier for our brains to connect to an individual than, oh, this many million people died when Ultron dropped an island on a place.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's, oh gosh, what was I even watching when it was talking about? It might have been Lindsay Ellis talking about, you know, literary stuff or whatever.
My brain might have gone to the exact same Lindsay Ellis video that you're about to talk about.
Oh, okay, we'll see.
Yeah.
Like they were talking about how, you know, humans, we don't really understand tragedies on the scale that we've seen through history. Like, It's why we experience tragedies through like Anne Frank, you
Mhm.
know? Like if you wanna think about and understand, you know, what it was like to be in the Holocaust, you read somebody who experienced it. Like, you know, and we don't even have to go there. Like, just imagine the Lord of the Rings, but instead of like getting to know all these characters, it's just like this Wikipedia page of like the stuff that happened and the armies that fought, and there's no like personal anything. Like, that's just not how our brains work. We don't connect with that, you
Mhm.
know? Anyway.
Exactly.
And it would make for really dry reading, whereas this is excellent. So anyway.
I was thinking, I don't know if it was the same video, or even if you're talking about Lindsay Ellis' video, maybe you are. But I was thinking of the one she did on the difference between Independence Day and the Tom Cruise War of the Worlds
Oh,
movie.
was it the same one? I don't know.
Oh,
Anyway, but yeah,
yeah.
excellent.
It's an excellent video because it shows the Shiraz.
Oh my god. You were in the wrong stream for that shit,
Oh
my
my
friend.
god.
But the difference between like Independence Day is like we blew up the White House, right,
Yeah.
and the whole thing is like a spectacle, and that she says only in this movie can a little kid be like the world ends, and this kid goes, "Mommy, what happened?"
Mhm.
And it's like you just look around you, and it's like your whole community's on fire, and the kid's just like, "Oh, what happened?" And it's played for like cuteness or whatever. Versus she says, War of the Worlds with Tom Cruise was released a few years after 9/11. I think it was like 2005 or something like that.
Yeah, somewhere
But
in
It's
there.
definitely
a
post
few
9/11.
years
Yeah.
after 9/11, and she said, and and it's this analysis of how the way we make the same movie for all intents and purposes in two very different ways because of what the cultural context was when Independence Day was made, which was the I'm gonna poke Flutter here, the brainless 90s, versus when
There's strong
Listen,
feelings about the
listen,
90s.
sometimes the
versus
brainless 90s is the best thing to go back to relax in, okay, you guys?
versus the post 9/11 world where you can't
You
make an
can't. Yeah.
Independence Day 4 years after 9/11 happened,
No,
right?
no.
Well, and
Uh, and that's kind of, and she points something out similar in that video of like, here's what the destruction looks like in Independence Day, and it's zoomed out, and you're seeing the whole city, and you're seeing the White House, but you don't see anybody die.
Right.
no.
Like you don't see a single person die. Versus when you watch the Tom Cruise War of the Worlds, you're seeing people like turn literally into dust, and it's just everywhere, and it's just people dying everywhere, and the physical destruction of the spaces they're in is secondary to you're watching people get vaporized, and he crashes back into his house, and his kids are like, "Why are you so dusty?" And he freaks out because he's got human ash.
He's
all
got human
over,
ash on him.
right?
Yeah.
And
Well,
it
and
is a very
that's a
interesting
very
breakdown, right? Of what you're talking about is understanding human tragedy in terms of like
Oh yeah.
there is
Well,
a much
it's killing
larger
somebody with a
body
knife
count.
versus a gun. Like the further
Yeah,
you get away from it, the easier it is to do. Like you can't.
yeah.
well, and it's
And
about
there's a much higher like statistical body count in Independence Day, but you don't see a single
But
person
you don't.
die.
Right. You don't relate to any
it's
of it.
also about the reaction, like, because the thing is, and this is something that like writers eventually learn because it's part of the craft, is that the narrator of a story is the proxy.
Don't you wish you
The
knew,
reader
Shiraz?
the reader the reader connects to the reader connects to the narrator because the narrator is like their stand-in for experiencing this world. If you look at a movie like Independence Day, that's very zoomed out, you're not seeing a lot of character reactions at the. You don't see someone standing in the street watching the White House explode. You don't see someone trying to get out of the White House as it's exploding. You just see it happen. It's just this thing that happens that's almost incomprehensible on a certain level. But if you look at War of the Worlds, where you have this very personal reaction, this guy who's freaking out because he saw someone vaporized, and you see the clothes just floating around, and he's a father and he's worrying about his children. It's this very human story, and Tom Cruise becomes your proxy. You experience the emotions he experiences because he is your proxy. He is connecting you to that story, and by seeing how he experiences that story, you feel the same emotions, whereas there's no one emoting on the screen in Independence Day. And if you sit there and watch an action movie like Age of Ultron or Independence Day, and you're watching this spectacle, your first thought is not, wow, I bet 1,000 people just died, that seriously sucks. Your thought is, whoa, that was a really cool visual effect.
Mhm.
And
I
so
mean,
this
I
is
don't know.
completely.
My first thought is usually like, wow, look at all
Mine is too, but that's most people are like, hey, that was a really
Yeah.
cool visual
there
effect,
are
right?
there are yeah. I have just it's very recent, and I can't say like that it's. So I don't know how many of you has seen The Boys or how much of The Boys you've seen. But there's a lot of
Oh,
violence. There's a
shoot,
lot of
I haven't.
gratuitous violence in that, and
It's
and
not my
I'm
kind
not
of thing.
yeah, I'm not a
because of
huge.
that.
Actually, we just stopped watching the second season because it's just too much. But there are moments I watched that movie and I'm just like, wow, that dude just killed a whole lot of people. Like I don't, I just it's the thing that I
No,
gravitate to instead of the destruction of
But
whatever
it's
the
the
bigger thing
difference.
is.
It's the difference between how your brain processes things, right?
Mhm.
If you look at like the, say, Lord of the Rings, and you see some of the zoomed out scenes where, like, say, the war elephant is just plowing down a whole bunch of people.
Right.
In a certain sense, you're like, wow, a bunch of people
But those
just
people
died.
are
But
orcs
you
too.
don't.
So
Yeah, but you just feel numb about, like, you don't really feel anything about it. But if you see Legolas leap onto the back of this thing, suddenly your heart's pounding in your chest because that's someone you know.
right.
And that's someone you've connected with, and suddenly you
Yeah.
feel genuine peril that this person you've connected to and you care about is in danger. All those other people that just died, whatever. But Legolas is in danger now, and that's just kind of how the human mind works.
We need to talk about our
So
boy
if you-
Amos.
So if you really, wow.
Oh yeah, Amos in The Expanse. Oh, boy.
Right.
And
I
the
got.
turd.
I was so worried. I was so worried in this last season about Amos. I was like, he's there.
But that's the difference. That's the difference between doing like an epic battle scene, even like to a certain extent with Star Wars, where you see, if you look at the scene where they're trying to kill the Death Star in the first movie, if you took out all of the zoom ins on the pilots and the individual interactions, like if you didn't see their faces, if you didn't see them interacting with each other, do you think you would care as much that they get picked off one by one?
Nope.
You definitely
Nope.
wouldn't. You
Nope.
definitely would not
Well, it's like
care as
watching
much.
World War II footage.
Mm.
Like,
Yeah.
there's a sense of, this isn't good or what, whatever. But like, you're not connected with it. You don't see a face. They're just airplanes or ships or tanks or whatever. Like, they don't
Exactly.
seem. Anyway,
We connect with human experience. Oh, what
Yeah.
was that movie that we watched, Ghost with Your Parents, that I still haven't recovered from? The one with the tank?
Fury. Yeah, Fury.
Oh, I haven't seen
Holy
that.
shit, that movie is like,
Because it's a small cast of characters.
It's
right?
about a
it's
group-
Like
yeah,
six,
it's about-
it's like 6 tankers and.
I still cannot. That and Dunkirk as well was very, very, very.
Dun-
I don't do.
Fury was amazing, but I have not recovered from the emotional trauma of watching that movie. That movie fucked me up.
Dunkirk was a really good movie.
Dunkirk was amazing.
And what set it apart for me, and we're kind of going off track here, but what set it apart for me is I am very critical of World War II films because it's often cast in stark colors of good versus evil and heroism versus villainy. Even when it tries to go to lengths to tell you that it's not doing that. Like if you're watching like Saving Private Ryan, it's like these are ordinary people. They're not heroes fighting villainous like whatever. They're just ordinary.
It's
but
still
they're
good
not,
versus bad.
right? It's still good. It's still good.
There's still
right?
a line.
And then Dunkirk is a movie that, given the, sorry Shiraz, I'm talking history here. But given the
Now you're playing his friends.
in Britain towards that event and the cultural memory that the British people have of that event gives itself so much towards that kind of good versus evil. These are heroes. They did a heroic thing, like kind of narrative, right? And even when you watch the trailer, it's like the old guy's like, "Hey, we gotta do this," right? And he zooms forward on his little fishing boat, and you're meant to feel that way. And then the end of the movie is they come back home, and the soldiers who made it, they feel deflated, and then somebody hands them a beer, and they're like, "What?" And then like all the people are celebrating, like, "You did it! You made it back! We get to fight another." Right? And they set up for that. They set up for it, and the one soldier is reading the newspaper, reading Churchill's speech, and I was like, "Here we go! This is it." And it pans to the other soldier's face, who's the protagonist in the movie, and he doesn't buy it. You can tell from his face that he does not buy it, and I was like, "Wow, Christopher Nolan, like you've made a pretty bold statement here by
in
kinda...
a much
That's cool. That's important.
much smaller scale. I went to the Philippines for a service trip, and we did a lot of really good, like we rebuilt a woman's house, and I helped some people at a quarry and stuff like that. It was a really, really emotionally trying trip for me. I almost came home early because it was so hard for me to see that people are living today in this world in the conditions that people are living in. And when I came home, I had a real hard time processing that I was in a place that had so much. It was insane to me, and I couldn't even walk through Walmart without like having an existential crisis and almost like breaking down. It's that kind of like you come home from something that has affected you so deeply, and people just don't get it. Nobody around you gets it. You can't communicate with anybody because they don't understand what just happened. And clearly, obviously, I'm not that traumatic kind of deal. But like
one of my colleagues, his wife is Venezuelan, and so until very recently, she lived there, like until the last couple of years, and it's the same thing, right? He says that they go to the grocery store, and it took her about a year before she wouldn't like see the bakery section and all the bread that's in the bakery and just like knock all the bread loaves into the cart, right? Because he had to tell her, no, there's gonna be more bread next week.
Really,
like,
oh my God.
Right. It's not gonna be gone, right? And it's not something we can't afford, and we can't. That's the idea.
It's
that there's
not,
so much. Even just flying in over LA, I was like, there are paved streets with they're square, and they're like cars, and I was in the plane having a problem just landing back in the United States after that whole experience.
It's not exactly the same, but that reminds me of like when we went to Belize, because we were staying at a resort, and like, so if I don't know if you've ever been to like a luxury resort, but it's like there's all this food and there's all this food.
They keep you from the reality.
And but then like we went on a cave swim, and our guide like actually took us to his house, and like his wife had prepared lunch for us, and it was very eye-opening, because you stay in this resort and you're in this really expensive, nice like sort of chalet type place, and you've got a really comfortable bed, and you've got all this room and air conditioning, and we get to our guide's house, and it's like a concrete slab floor, and then there's like there's like one room that's like a concrete slab floor and actual like walls and a roof, and then the next room is like a dirt floor, and it's open to the elements, and they've got chickens running everywhere because that's like one of their food sources, and they have an outhouse, but they've made this big meal for us, and they have
and
like,
you know they can't even afford that for their family for like a day or a week,
and it's like,
and they're giving it to you, a stranger.
And they're giving it to you. And this was like Christmas Eve too. So like he drove us out to his place. He took us through this giant walk through the rainforest to this cave. We went swimming in this cave, and then we walked all the way back to his place. He showed us around. Like, he was very proud of his abode. And he offered to do more for us, but we were like, no, we should go back, because you have to drive all the way back here to be with your family on Christmas, and we want to keep you from your family on Christmas. But it's really eye-opening to see, and like, because we went briefly into a town as well, and it's really interesting to see how they've set all these things aside for the tourists to make money, and like, you can order this nice food at this local restaurant, but they don't live that way. It's all for the tourists. It's all for the people that are bringing in the money, right? And so it's very eye-opening to realize that, like, we do kind of live in luxury, and we have all of these things. Like, our lives are very convenient and pampered. Like, the people that we met in Belize were amazing, wonderful people, but if they came and lived in our life for a week, I think they would it would be such culture shock.
It is. It's amazing. I just told Dan to look up Smoky Mountain. He said he drove down the roads and saw the people like picking through garbage. Smoky Mountain in the Philippines is a literal trash heap that people live in. They have created their homes underneath mountains of trash, and they dig through it every day to try to make some kind of living. It's insane. So the fact that we get to be here in our comfortable places in such luxury is mind blowing. Goodbye, Cyberwolf.
Good
Thank you for coming.
Bye, Cyberwolf.
Thank you for sharing the details of your story.
Yes.
Please
Oh gosh. Please let us know.
Keep us up to date and let us know how it goes.
Yes.
You absolutely
cool.
were not interrupting by including that.
And you had
not
so
at
many
all.
great
Always,
questions.
always.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'd be
absolutely.
really interested
Thank
to
you
hear more.
so much. Have a great night.
I'd also be interested to hear more sometime from Shiraz about his experiences.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, I was thinking that.
with this kind of stuff, because
Yeah.
I know very little, and I've experienced very little.
Yeah, well, like I said, I would have known unless I had gone there. And I think that the majority of people don't get to go and see these things. They don't get to experience them firsthand, and I think that is a big problem with our society as a whole, is that we're too far away from it. We're too disconnected from it. But you bring it down to that singular person narrative, and that's how you connect with it.
Well, and I wanted to say too, like, because you were saying, oh, I feel like we've gone off on a huge tangent. Like, we absolutely have not, because the point of writing, like, I took one singular writing class when I was in college, and our job, as told to us by our creative writing instructor, was to write a story that said something about the human condition. And the first day in class, he went on this huge rant, not really rant, but to me it was a rant, about how he's pretty sure you can do that with most genres. Like, you can do it with sci-fi, but he's like, you absolutely cannot do it with fantasy. And I was like, fuck you, buddy. It's happening.
Hilarious.
And I wrote a little story that you can.
Have you read any of the fantasy books though? Like, listen, has he read any of the fantasy books? Like what?
If he would read any part of Lord of the Rings, he would. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Sorry.
But I wrote a little story. It's on my blog for anybody who is interested. I don't remember which of the commands that is, but it's called Blood for the Dead, and you can read it on my blog. It is a fantasy story, and after I handed it in, he actually admitted in front of the class that he did not believe a fantasy story could tell something about the human condition, but it did. My story did, and it changed his opinion. And the point of writing, the reason why we tell stories, even if they're in a fantasy world or a sci-fi setting or whatever, is to express the human condition, to tell stories about human experience.
The same thing I learned
We
in
do
college
that-
in acting class. We
Yeah.
express a portion of the human experience. That's why we do it,
Exactly.
right?
And like,
This is a. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, yeah, we started on the topic of relationships, but it's all related. It's all
Yeah.
about telling stories.
This is a little bit of an off-topic tangent, but what drives me up the wall about the like fantasy literature scene is that like everybody slags off fantasy as junk,
But it's
right, as junk literature.
But it's not.
But
It's
but
so
and I've
not.
always felt so it's like literary professors and instructors and whatever like trash it, and Margaret Atwood trashed it, and then she wrote one
Right.
because it was selling, because that's what
Uh-huh.
sold, right? Margaret Atwood, really interesting lady. Sometimes I'm like, come on.
Right.
She's a very intelligent lady, but there are times I just want to punch her. Just putting that out there.
Yeah.
Yep. But like everybody slags it off, and so one year, what won the like biggest fantasy literature prize that's out there? I don't remember what it's called.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Is Neil Gaiman's graphic novel Sandman, and this community of fantasy writers who just get slagged off as illegitimate all the time in the literary world, the very next year changed the rules so that graphic
so that a
novels
comic
can't win
book could
anymore.
never win. So that a comic book could never win the. I've read the chapter of Sandman that won that award. I have to say, I don't think it's the best chapter of Sandman that I read.
I know this is one that hurts Wolf because he loves Sandman.
But it was a good story. It was about Shakespeare actually, and the fairy court, and it was a very interesting. I
need to read this.
Chapter.
Hi.
I liked the cat chapter better. There's I have to finish reading Sandman. I only read the first, I think, 3 volumes of it, but I have to read the rest of it because it's very good.
I need to read this. What?
But basically, the premise of Sandman is that humans lured Morpheus, the god of dreams, into a prison, and they trapped him for like 50 years. And then so Sandman is about what happens when he finally gets out of his prison. It's very
I'm so excited about this. This
extremely
sounds so amazing to me.
Sandman is good stuff.
Oh yeah.
My favorite chapter is the cat chapter, Woof. The cat one.
Of course it is.
Another one that like
it's really good.
When we're talking about like how we experience tragedy and how we make connections with things that have, I don't know if it's to do with the relationships necessarily, but we've been kind of poking fun at like Marvel all night, and I gotta say that as much as like the MCU and all that, they're really good at like staying in their lane and making popcorn movies where you can shut off your brain. They're not stupid, right?
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with those kind of stories.
To me, there's a huge difference between like an MCU movie and a Michael Bay Transformers movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right.
Oh,
yeah.
Way.
Sure.
And
Don't get me started on
one thing that, like I said, like Age of Ultron was a movie where was a movie where I've never watched a second time. I barely remember anything that happens in that movie.
There were a
right?
lot
it
of
was so
marketing cameos
unimportant to me, and I saw it in the same month as I saw Mad Max Fury Road, and I've watched that like 100 times.
Fury Road was amazing.
Right? And so I was like, Age of Ultron,
good,
like
right?
Age of Who, right? Just pushed it out.
Wait, does Vinyl really like Transformers? Is that what's happening right now?
She really enjoys Michael Bay films.
I don't
Listen,
like Michael Bay films.
It's
and
not. Yeah,
I
they're
really-
not
I
bad.
really like the
It's
first
just a different. It's
Transformers,
a different thing. It's a
And I
different.
gotta say, I know it's not a Michael Bay
need you
movie, but I
fulfill.
also really like the A-Team movie, and this is where Megan and I did this. Right? We did this. There's a specific point in that movie where they start
But it's not my kind of
steering,
movie.
where they start steering that they're in a tank that fell
I
out
don't
of a
even
plane
remember
and is in
anything
free
else
fall.
about that movie.
And they're like, we gotta land this tank in this lake if we're gonna survive. And so they fire the cannon on the tank to like steer the tank into the lake. And at that point,
I was
Megan
done. I
realized
don't
Megan is
remember
out.
she was
She's
watching
like, nope,
a
suspension of
stupid
disbelief
movie.
is gone.
I
Bye bye.
realized I
I don't
was
remember
watching
anything about that
the
movie
greatest
after that.
movie ever.
I remember that scene and nothing else about that
I'm with you,
movie.
Vinyl. The no brains thing is really
All right,
nice
Maratha,
sometimes.
see you later.
I agree.
Take care,
Oh my
Maratha.
gosh.
But
Good night.
But-
here's the thing: if you
Back
like
to-
those
back to
kind
Age
of
of
movies,
Ultron.
that's fine. Like
Yeah.
that's totally fine.
But back to
Oh,
Age
yeah,
of Ultron, and we talked about how they dropped a mountain on a country, and it was played for like popcorn and wow, right? And I'm sitting here watching this movie, and they drop it on. I'm like, is it gonna crush all the people? You know, like, oh my goodness, what's gonna happen? Oh my goodness, the special effects, and
I
it
knew
just
it
fell
wasn't
on
gonna
this whole
come.
city, and I'm just like this with the popcorn, right?
Yeah.
It's like the 2020 emote or whatever.
Right.
Like that was me, right? And then in the next movie is like Civil War, and like this is where MCU movies are not stupid, right? I'm not going to go out on a limb and be like they're super intelligent or
No, of
they're
course
not
not.
stupid though,
But yeah.
because in the next movie Tony Stark is absolutely consumed with guilt over that happening to the point where he's becoming unhinged, and it makes me feel guilty for this.
That you just
in the
fucking
last
like
movie,
plowed through your
right?
popcorn
Yeah.
instead.
Yeah. Makes
Yeah.
me
Instead of
feel
caring about the
bad
thousands of
for
people
that.
in that movie.
and so that's the
Here's-
moment. That's kind of one moment where I was like, these are not dumb movies, right? Like
Here's
they're not
my-
they're not smart movies, but they're not dumb movies.
Here's my hang up on MCU and other action movies, and this is a personal thing. This is not me saying that those movies are bad or anything. My personal hang up with MCU and other action movies that are sort of brainless popcorn movies is that for me there's no tension, because I know that at the end of the movie everything's going to work out.
It's going to be okay.
I know that like the whole point of that struggle is that Captain America and Thor and all those people, they all win. They all make it as right as they can possibly make it. That world, you know, even if you get to,
That's
you
why
know,
I love the tragedies though. 'Cause
Endgame
you
and all
don't know
that
who's
stuff.
gonna survive.
So compare that to a movie like The Martian, where
And
like,
you're like, oh my
you
god,
go
is he
into
gonna
that
live through
movie.
this? Am I gonna ball at the end because he dies?
Yeah, you go into that movie, and I was so stressed watching that movie. And I'm gonna make a confession, which might make some people judge me. I was so stressed out about the outcome of The Martian that I had to look up the ending before I could watch it. And I was still stressed out. I knew the ending of the movie, and I was still stressed out.
That was like almost
Like,
a
the
one-man
stakes
movie though.
Are so high in that movie. The tension
That
is
is
so great in that movie that even when you know what happens, you don't know if it's gonna. There's
was,
parts where you're
Dan.
like, but is it gonna be
Right.
Is he gonna live?
Can I
What's
tell you?
gonna happen?
I think
And
that.
to me,
Go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say, to me, that's what makes a movie worth investing in, is when I'm so attached to a character and I'm so attached to what's happening, and the stakes are real.
Yeah,
The stakes feel genuine.
Stakes
That's
being high is definitely yeah. I mean that's the
And just to bring it all back around, notice Mars wasn't exploding, the Earth wasn't exploding.
right.
No,
Nothing
worried about
crazy
one
like
dude
that was
with
happening.
one
A dude
guy,
was
right?
just
One
trying to
guy, yeah.
survive at the basic level, right? Like just
Yeah.
live.
Should
And
support
and
to
that's
us.
why
Anyway.
and that's why like out of Marvel movies, my favorite is Spider-Man: Homecoming by far.
That was a good movie. I agree.
Because it's all about him, right?
Mhm.
And realizing maybe that's because I'm a teacher and I have like a soft spot for
Wait, okay, so
young
is that the
men
Washington
and
one?
what they're going through. And
Which one is that?
yes,
Yes, that's the one
Okay.
where they go to the Washington Monument.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. I'm just making sure because I get them Spider-Mans mixed up because they're too
But I
many.
have such
Um,
but I have such a soft spot for where like Peter is throughout that whole movie,
Right.
and how
It makes
confused he
sense,
is,
right.
and yeah. And that's my favorite one.
And everybody, if you've
and
gone to
I
high
don't
school,
care.
has been there at some point in time.
Yeah.
Knows
Oh, yeah.
exactly what he was feeling.
And I don't, and nobody dies in that movie. That was something that I forget what video I watched, but that pointed it out. And not a single person dies in that movie, and
But
I
you're
actually
still
quite like
invested
that.
in it.
Right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
But I have to say, like, for all that
Oh
Marvel's
wait,
not
one
my
person
jam,
does die. The
For
vulture
all that-
accidentally
Accidentally.
vaporizes a guy.
Accidentally.
Yeah, accidentally vaporizes.
Awkward.
Yeah,
For
so
all
one
that-
person does die. Yeah.
for all that MCU isn't my jam, I do agree with Ghost. For what they do, they are smart about what they do.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
know how to make
Clearly
movies
have.
that will keep people coming back.
Mhm.
And you know, there's this like, even I have nights where Ghost is like, "What do you want to watch?" And I look at him and I'm like, you know, those movies that I don't necessarily like, where I turn off my brain and just sit there for an hour and a half.
Let's do that.
I want one of those.
Mhm.
Everybody
Yeah.
gets in the mood for those.
Except for me,
those
those are
movies.
musicals almost hand down every time.
Is there
You know?
take care, man?
And
Oh,
it's
thanks
not
for coming by.
necessarily.
Good night, sir.
It's
Thank
the-
you.
Good
Take
night,
care,
Joe.
man.
Thank you so much for the raid.
And it's not necessarily like it's not necessarily Marvel that I crave. Like, I had to sit through Ant-Man and the I didn't sit through Ant-Man and the Wasp, just Ant-Man. I had to sit through Ant-Man, and I
I'm
drew a
with you,
line
Dan,
there.
though. Like there's, I didn't watch any of these movies. We had to do like a hardcore catch up right before Endgame happened because we hadn't watched any of them for like 8 years. And so we had to cram them all into like 3 weeks before that movie came out so that we could catch up with the story because we just didn't care until
But you
then.
know, Ghost and I had a conversation about that too. Like, people were talking about how, oh, it's this cinematic event and it built up to this thing and it was this massive. But in the future, when people look back on like movie phenomenon, they're not going to remember the Avengers Endgame
No.
as this huge thing
No.
because it's not a revolutionary
not
movie.
really
You sit through
that
it once
crazy,
and
yeah.
then you're done with
Mhm.
it.
Yep.
If you were there for it, then yeah, cool, it was an event for you. But it's not going to be like, it's not something like
Gross.
the Lord of the Rings trilogy is
Good
this
for you.
enduring feat of filmmaking that
Right.
pushed the boundaries.
Or like Gone
The
with the Wind
original
that
Star
broke
Wars
box
trilogy.
office records for a whole fucking century before anything surpassed it in terms of sales.
Like there are so many things that we will think about and talk about for years. Marvel is just kind of this passing.
Yeah.
It's here. It's a thing. It entertains us.
Right.
I don't think people are going to talk about it in a decade.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, like, are these movies really going to stand the test of time?
Right. No, they won't. Of
Yeah.
course not.
Yeah, no, they
There
won't.
will always be
No, I
something
don't think so.
newer and better than them. Like, that's just how it is.
Yeah.
You don't talk about them like you talk about classic films. You know what I mean? Casablanca, Citizen
Yeah.
Kane. Things that have like really crazy moments where see, here I am talking about a movie I can't think of the name of. Alfred Hitchcock does a bunch of like groundbreaking film things, like because of the filming of it, it's groundbreaking. We can talk about it, right? Like that kind of thing. But movies, and this is something we talked about in theater too. Is like, is every story the same story? We are telling over and over again in different ways.
Yeah, sure.
Right?
There are like five.
You know,
there are like 5 stories, and we tell them over and over and over.
Right. So
Yeah.
we have this kind of breadth of like crazy, crazy amounts of stories that we tell that are all basically boil down to the same basic principles and things. And so like you have to really, really stick out from that pack in order to kind of make it into the annals of time. But it's nice to have. Thank you, Shiraz. I agree. Oh, Ingrid Bergman. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I've just never seen Casablanca or Citizen Kane, but I feel like I should see both of them.
You should at least see Casablanca.
I
I agree.
know the plot. I know the plot of Citizen Kane.
Yeah, Citizen Kane, I wasn't so thrilled with either. I'm with Shiraz on
But
this
it's
one.
like this. It's a huge deal, though. Like,
yeah,
it is a
Casablanca.
huge deal.
oh, that hit you, right? Yeah. So, but like that's what I'm saying. Like, in Gone with the Wind, that we will always have this moment
Gone
of,
with the
oh my
Wind.
god, like, yeah, it represents a terrible time in history, and it does it like so it kind of makes that time in history seem better than it was, which it clearly wasn't. But it's a film. It's a thing in film history where it's a miracle that film, first of all, made it to the screen in general. But like, if we can look at it and be like, wow, that made so much money. Where is your drink, Ghost? Go get yourself some
He
whiskey.
finished it.
What are you doing?
Oh, he already
That's
has
what
it.
I.
It's that time.
That's why I love you, Ghost.
10 to 10, it's whiskey time.
Good. But you know, these are things that we talk about as the years go on, right? We will always talk about which films were the ones who hit certain milestones in filmmaking, you know. But there are so many. There are so many films that I couldn't even name because I've never seen them or heard of them.
Right.
And I feel like there's a thing because the Marvel is like one big giant kind of story in a bunch of movies that eventually you're going to be like, oh yeah, superhero movies. But you're going to say superhero movies and not necessarily just Marvel movies. You're going to say that and include Batman and, you know, the DC comics and all of that kind of stuff. It's a genre. It's a thing that happened, but it's not something that we're going to comment on in 50 years.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
sorry, I just went
I
on a
don't think-
whole thing about that.
No, I mean, I agree.
And
It is kind of funny which movies end up being enduring though, because
Oh God,
within
Shiraz,
that,
you and I need to get together
I
and watch some
don't-
movies. Sorry.
I don't quite think this is going to be much of a counterpoint at all. Like I agree with you. I honestly don't think the MCU movies are going to be movies that
they're
are
like boy
featured
bands.
in the
We're done with those.
Oscars
Okay.
movie through the ages montage
Right.
like 20 years from now. You know what I mean? However,
Rope, that's the one I was thinking of. It's all filmed in
Oh,
one
that's a good one.
fucking one thing. He never turns off the camera and cuts scenes. It's one continuous moment. Rope. Oh God, that's such a good movie. I'm sorry.
but
that's the
there
one.
are
That's what I was thinking of,
some
Shiraz.
switch off your brain popcorn movies that did end up enduring in a big way, and like Star Wars is one where it was like, you know,
But that's
It was
not
huge. It
just
was
very much
breakthrough.
The
movie
red,
now.
The
the red
effects,
Foreman,
the sci-fi,
like,
that was
you know, that 70s show. He's like, what is this crap? And then there's like pew pew pew. He's like, whoa, right?
whoa,
Yeah, but
this
like
is
that-
amazing.
more.
And
It was
then,
groundbreaking.
like,
More to that.
Raiders
Yeah.
of the Lost Ark, the same
Right.
thing.
Yeah.
Die Hard, the same thing. Although they're trendsetters, right? And I think
Yeah.
that's why they're enduring is
Right.
that they've
The first one is
paved-
gonna be the one we
It's
talk
a
about.
mess.
blazed a trail.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and I want to say too, because this segues really, really well into
No,
another point.
Shiraz.
Is that-
Shiraz.
Sure.
Is that-
He's just
Oh
making you
my God.
ignore him.
Here's the thing though. There are different reasons to tell stories.
Hi, Jerry Killer. Oh, Ghost! I'm gonna clip that so hard. Oh my God.
Hi, Jerry Killer. Don't judge us by what
Oh,
just
I
happened.
loved that. I loved
Um,
that. Ghost never does that. I clipped it.
The point he never does. That was a very rare moment. The point that I want to make though is that there are different reasons to tell stories, right? Like, and this is something that the writing community talks about a lot. Is like, do you have to have a deeper reason, a deeper theme, a deeper meaning
No, you
for
don't.
your stories?
But you need to also
No.
realize that you're not gonna.
No, we
Nobody's gonna
don't.
remember it for like.
I mean,
ever.
yeah. If you're primarily
You know what
What got caught?
What
I-
happened?
It was the
OW. Ow.
OW?
I've had to
OW.
unblock
Ow.
OW too. What the fuck is
Did
that?
happen with
For
the
real.
word
I don't
how?
even
That's
know.
yeah.
OW is what
I
it
don't
catches.
know.
Yeah,
What does that
what is the
mean? You
term
guys
ow?
in the chat world, tell me what the hell OW
What does it
ow
mean? Are we
I don't
too
know.
bored
Because
to know this?
Twitch
I don't-
chat can't
Hold
handle
on.
it.
Loud
on.
now.
I'm
It's
gonna-
allowed
I'm gonna
now.
take- I'm gonna take this bullet for
Allowed
everybody.
now.
Urban Dictionary.
Do it.
Anyway,
I'm gonna take this
the
bullet.
Do
point
it.
I'm
I'm
gonna
trying
take this bullet.
is
for you.
if your primary goal is to entertain, that's fine. Like my primary goal with my stories is to entertain as well. Now,
We
I
love
usually do
Valheim,
develop
Jerry.
some deeper intellectual meaning as I'm going along, whether I mean to or not. But if you're just trying to tell a story that will entertain people, that's fine. There's nothing
Right.
wrong with that.
There's always room for the guy at the campfire with a beer in his hand telling a story about some shit he did a couple of years ago. It's people like it's a thing that we enjoy, right? That's why we get together as human beings. That's how gatherings happen. It's a thing. We enjoy that kind of stuff. But it doesn't have to
Yeah.
be earth-shattering and world-ending.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, for
Flumps.
sure. And like the
We're
thing is,
really
too,
into it right now, Flumps. Really?
There's a lot of talk.
I mean, you guys are.
You're not lying. I
There's
know.
a lot of talk in the writing community about whether or not you need to have like your theme figured out before you sit down to write. And I'm gonna say no. Like, you know, I have developed a theme in a lot of my works. Like we talked about Dreamers Do Lie. I think the theme of that is redemption and who actually
Who deserves it?
grants you redemption. Well, and who gives you redemption? Does it come from an outside force or is it an internal thing? And then, of course, the second book gets more into what is religion? Who creates it? Who is it for? What does it mean to an individual?
I'm writing it down
And
for us.
one of the things that comes out a lot in the Celestial Serenade in the first 3 books has a lot to do with war and struggle and this idea of us versus them. And we start out with this strong idea of who we are and who we're facing and what is good
Us
and what
versus
is
them,
bad.
the fallacy of human existence.
Well, but that's the point of the story is that
Right.
the deeper, not to spoil anything, but the deeper you get into the book, the more each side's face sort of forms, and the more you start to realize that maybe the conflict isn't
Maybe
as
we
cut and
are
dry.
the
as
greatest
it
country in the
starts out.
world.
And so, like this is a theme that develops throughout the story, and by the time you get to the third trilogy, one of the primary themes is grief and loss, and how we as human beings process those feelings. And I did not intend to do this, but I definitely think I mourned my grandmother with that book,
Oh yeah.
with those 3 books. So if you're setting out to just tell a story and entertain people, you might find a deeper meaning in there as you go, and that's cool. And if you don't, that doesn't necessarily matter either. We tell stories. That's what we do as human beings. And personally, I think that's really cool.
We have storytellers, and that is it, right? If you are, there is always if you look back on ancient times, there's always the storyteller, the tribal whatever that kind of documents things, oral histories, all of that stuff. Super important to human development because that's how we connect with human beings. I 1,000,000%, I'm with that, obviously, as a theater person. But please, anybody that's new in chat, Jerry Killer, I'm looking at you. Go buy this book because it's amazing.
It's really, really good.
I wrote a book. Thank you.
And I haven't read it, but all of her other stuff is amazing.
If you have any questions about it,
Singled out.
if you have any
Sorry.
questions, Jerry,
This is the
please let
author
me-
down here in the other corner of this book right here, and I promise you it's good.
Please do not feel obligated.
It's fine. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
You are on Kindle. If you're subscribed to Kindle Unlimited, you can read it on there. I do get paid for that.
Yeah,
and it's
for
free for you.
free.
But why I feel like all of this stuff comes back together too is because we started out talking about fictional relationships and how you create fictional relationships and all that sort of thing. He's into the second bit of whiskey already. He's gonna finish that book.
Yes.
tonight.
Oh, I love
Friday.
it. Oh, Ghost. Oh,
Friday.
here. Let me join you.
This
But
is
the
this is
reason-
also me celebrating the end of my self-isolation.
Oh,
I'm
Yeah,
back
that's
in-
such a good
We
reason to
did not-
celebrate. Let's do that.
I'm
We
back
did
in
not
the
have
I'm
COVID.
back
Oh,
in the
she's
world.
Me too. Awesome. But the reason
Yes.
the reason why I think it all fits together
Cheers,
is
Ghost.
because everything you create fictionally comes in some way from
Clink.
real life, you know? Fake relationships are built from real relationships. Fake characters are built from real people. fake situations are built from pieces of real situations. That's how we tell stories. Also, cheers. I'm having rum.
Brucey, cheers. Brucey, yes, we will find you, especially,
Cheers.
particularly me, because I'm the crazy one of this group.
She is the crazy one. Collie and I would find you and sit you down and use reasoned argumentation.
But honestly, Jerry Killer, welcome.
To gently persuade you to purchase this book, and if you say no, we would respect that decision.
Listen, I do. I
Flutter-
respect that
Yeah.
position, but I don't.
But she'd break your legs.
You know,
Yeah.
because the book is good, and you need to experience it because it's a good book. Jerry Killer, thank you for coming and hanging out. I know you don't
Jerry
come
Killer,
to my
I would
chat.
buy you a drink.
I don't know you, and I appreciate that you're here.
Anyone who's watching now and or watching in the VOD, and I'll probably say something to this effect on the Discord as well, but I just want to thank everyone from Ghost community, Flutter's community, Collie's community, Val's community. People from all of those places have reached out to me and said that they've bought the book, that they're interested in the book, that they're excited about the book, and every one of those messages means so much to me. Every person who's considered the book, who's bought the book in paperback or in ebook or downloaded it on Kindle Unlimited, it means the world to me. I spent 10 years working on this novel, and just the way that it's been received, this was by far my greatest book release ever. And it was all thanks to, you all, to Ghost and Flutter and Collie and Val and the people who watch and support them, who watch and support me when I stream on these fine people's channels, and just every message.
Girl,
Every
I wouldn't
single-
let you
somebody
have
clip that.
a whole channel night if I didn't
It's the
think
first,
your
it's
books
the first
were
time
good.
she's ever called me a fine person. Somebody. So-
I literally called you a saint earlier in the stream, but it's okay.
Yeah, fine person, outranked saint.
Thank you so much to everybody, because whether you buy the book or not, just your interest and your support absolutely means the world to me. Brucey, thank you.
That's
You're
right,
such a
Brucey.
beautiful-
Brucey speaks
You said
for
it,
all of us,
Brucey.
I think.
You said
I
it.
really do
Yeah.
think.
Thank you so
I have
much.
been reading Megan's stuff for 25 years, since we were in the middle school together.
Since
and
middle school.
and
Since it was awful.
I knew no, but it wasn't awful. I mean, it was maybe poorly written because you didn't have all of the
Definitely
experience
poorly
of
Sure.
years of
The
writing
word you're looking
behind.
for is rough.
But you had these
Very
ideas, the creative, the stories, the things that came out of your head, the ways that we played when we were in school together. Like, we used to do like weird little RPs of our own because we loved these worlds. But Megan always created these worlds. Like, they were so good, and she roped all of us into it because we loved it so much, because they were so amazing. And so I think that it's a testament that, all these people, they're not going to buy your books if they don't think they're worth it. Like, I feel like
Sure, you gotta come out for yourself first before other people are gonna come out.
They
But that's
are.
why it means so much to me, because
Zero.
I wouldn't say that, like, I published my first book, Island of Lost Forevers, in 2014. And I wouldn't say that I have been publishing to the void since then, but this is certainly the first time that I've felt like I've actually found my audience and found the people who are as excited about.
And like I said, this is
my
my favorite one that you've released so far.
So it is a lot. So to absolutely everyone, hey Zero, I know you've read my stuff too, and I appreciate that.
Yeah.
To absolutely everyone who has, I've written the next EE book, by the way, 00. It's written. It's not edited, but it's written.
Oh, is it one of the ones in my queue?
No, I haven't edited it yet.
thank
You
you.
need
Okay.
to read the.
I know I
these three
need to
books.
read the next three. I know. I've got a list. It is well
and
deserved,
just-
Woof. I agree.
In case you're wondering how you can make your favorite artist or author or whatever creative feel good, just tell them that you like their stuff. Just
real.
send them a message and be
Review
like,
them.
"Hey, I love
Review
the
them
thing
on
that you
Amazon,
made."
Goodreads,
Review.
whatever.
Because when I see those messages from people saying, "Hey, I bought your thing," or "Hey, I'm really excited about this," or "Hey, I love a thing you did," it melts my heart and it makes my whole day. I had a guy tweet me the other day who said that he felt like Eternity's Empire was so rich and dense and that he absolutely loved it, and I'm still melting over that.
Such a
It
good
was
series too. Read
so
that one.
amazing.
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna do this. Go to that link to Megan's Amazon store and just buy everything because it's worth it.
I do have a couple of books over here.
You'll love it. Some of the books come in like big chunks. The EE books.
So this is the first one is The Light of Eternity. It no longer
Those
looks
are
like
so
this.
good.
My paperback is very old. They now look like this. They all have
so pretty.
like this.
cool. I love those covers.
And I have to move my camera, but I'll show you. I just came up with the box set cover, and I will officially unveil it.
It's so pretty.
Here.
Oh gosh, I could probably stick it in my OBS real quick.
You could actually, because I sent it to you.
Okay,
that
hold
might
on.
be better than me, like turning my camera.
Yeah, hold on a second.
But I just made a box set. I just made a box set cover for the box set that's coming out. It's going to be the first 4 books in one bundle, digital bundle, so that people can just quickly catch up on the series. That's going to be coming out in April. So, also, if you weren't here earlier and you're looking at this cover that's on the screen and you're thinking, "Wow, that's amazing." My cover artist is Molly Phipps. She's amazing. She works for a place called We've Got You Covered Book Design. It's we'vegotyoucoveredbookdesign.com. They're so great, and she takes my word vomit and she turns it into beautiful things. So check her out. I'm just about to get the cover for the next book. I have to send her an email on Monday with the details.
Check this out, you guys. I'm sorry, I gotta resize it so it fits,
So
but this book cover is
So
freaking
awesome.
hot. Look at this.
So I just did that earlier
This
today.
is
I actually
so
just
good.
crammed that into the hour before dinner today. That's what the book cover for the first box set is going to look
Not the
like.
most
It's gonna
high
be
res
the first-
image, but like
It's going to be the first 4 books.
So
Freaking
excited
dope.
about that.
I love
Check these series out.
You can see,
Yes.
Megan, I'm actually looking through Molly's portfolio, and she has Dreamers Do Lie and Life is But a Dream in her.
She has them in
in
her
her
portfolio.
demos.
Oh God,
Yeah.
girl, that's
So,
amazing.
Not to like out my cover artist or anything, but she did tell me that they are 2 of her favorite covers. She loves them so
They're
much.
so
She's
good
so
too.
with what
If
she
any,
That's
came
awesome.
if any of her other clients are watching, don't take it personally.
I mean, honestly, like
Delete the
if any
book.
of her
Delete the
other-
book.
any of her
So
other
this
clients
coming
are
up-
watching, get good.
just so you know,
Yeah.
these are the covers. These are the covers in question. And just so you know, like, for this cover, Dreamers Do Lie, we originally talked about a different concept. It was going to be completely different. And then she messaged me one morning and she was like, I tried that concept and I hated it. I came up with this. And we spent a few minutes talking about how to make it work. And she basically did this. And I've never been so blown away to see something that I love,
It's
like that I made,
perfect, though.
come to life.
So good.
It's so good for that.
And so, yeah, and so forever forward after that, I've basically been like, here's word vomit, do whatever. And as you can see, the characters on the cover of The End of All Things are Alrea and Gaia. And the character that is on both of these books is Kaylee.
Kaylee.
She did absolutely amazing things with the things that are in my head, and I can't even begin to gush about her enough because I do not have the skill. I make the Eternity's Empire covers and I'm proud of them. I think this is actually the best one, the Bond
Your
Between
Eternity's
Sisters.
Empire
My favorite
covers
one.
are great.
They're great, but they cannot compare with Molly, let's just be honest.
No, but they are so good though. Like
These are...
I couldn't do something with people and like intricate backgrounds like that. And I think that the thing that you did with those is it's beautiful. I think
I did
they're
get some
perfect
help.
for
My
what
friend-
that series is.
My friend Beth Alvarez, who is also a fantasy author, helped me come up with a template for that. And so she sort of put the original elements in place in a way that I could swap them out. And that
Yeah.
has helped tremendously. So
It's
Beth
awesome.
Alvarez, all credit to her. But yeah, I do those. I finalize those. I'm proud of them, but I just think Molly's work is just such a step above everything else.
I mean, yeah. I mean, clearly Molly has a more experience working with design programs and things, but
Dreamers Dolly.
Dreamers, did I say that? Because
Zero.
I'm sure I did say that. I'm sorry.
She actually,
Dreamers do lie.
actually,
It could
she
be
did tell
Dolly
me that-
if there was no L. Yes.
I mean, he's not wrong.
She did tell me that the only
Marethnon,
thing
you're
that
still
she-
here?
She does tell me
How's
that
the
the
Valheim going?
only thing that she doesn't like about these
Enjoying the
covers is
Valheim?
that she couldn't make Kaylee the same size on both of them because of the way the titles work.
Right.
So when we did the End of All Things cover, she was like, "How many books are in this series? Because I want to make them all perfect."
She sounds great. I love
She's
this
amazing.
cover artist.
She's
So good.
absolutely amazing. And I was like, you know what? I'm on board with this. So
That's okay. Listen,
No worries.
I'm on streams with
We
them muted all the time
appreciate it.
because I'm terrible.
I
at
get
that.
in so
I
many
don't
people's
know.
chats sometimes.
No, fantastic.
Yeah, lurkers are the
Appreciate,
lifeblood
right?
of Twitch.
Yes.
So thank you.
Love the lurkers. I'm
Yeah.
a lurker myself.
So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, hopefully someone will clip me gushing about everyone and post it somewhere because it really does. It just means so much to me to have found people who are as passionate about these
Yeah.
stories as I am.
Listen, like I said, I've known
Hopefully
you for
someone
so
will
long.
clip her saying I'm a
And
fine
Flumps,
person.
you've read Megan's stuff, right?
You can frame the clip like somewhere that you can.
Oh,
Like
yeah,
literally,
it's
literally, I had a
Good night.
pizza
Good night, Brucey.
one day. Hey, good night,
Thank you
Brucey.
for
Night,
coming
Brucey.
and hanging out.
You're so wonderful. We love you so much.
I
Thank you.
was eating some pizza one day in the staff room, and my boss came in and said, I am impressed by your maturity, because I would have eaten that whole pizza by now." And I said, "Can you come back in and repeat that, and I'll film it and I'll send it to my wife." And so he did it, and I sent it to her, and I just said proof. And she said, "What, proof that your boss exists? Like, what's this supposed to be proof of?" there it is. No, he says my real name in there. No, don't
We're
dox
not
me.
listening to it. We can't hear
Don't
it.
dox
I can't
me.
hear it. I
Don't
don't know.
My response
Don't
was,
dox me.
he said proof, and I said of your boss's existence, and he said of my maturity, OMG, and I said, you gotta consider the source.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Wait, Zero, you know that there's like video frames now, right?
What?
Or you're just doing a bit. You're just doing a
He's
bit.
just
Okay.
doing a bit, of course.
Just put that.
I'm gonna
Okay.
pop AFK for 1 second. I will be
Alright.
right back.
Enjoy your AFK.
yeah. Yeah. Oh man.
Oh my
This has been
gosh.
so much fun. I hate to say
Yeah.
it, but I probably have to head out. But I'm not gonna. I'll wait till she gets back. But my
course.
goodness, this has been so much fun, you guys. I
Mhm.
always love these streams. This is just.
Yeah,
amazing.
I always have a lot of fun doing that.
Oh,
Yeah.
Brucey.
And it's always
she'll
so
appreciate it so
fun.
much. I'm
Oh,
sure you'll
yeah.
enjoy the end of DDL. I am a huge fan of it, and I think you'll love the next book as well as an expansion to that story. So thank you so much for hanging out with us, though. Much appreciate. Everybody hanging out with us. Much appreciate.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
it's been a
I
lot
mean,
of fun.
that's what I was about to say. Like, I love the back and forth with chat and like people's comments and the jokes. Oh my gosh.
That's why, see,
Brittany.
that's why I hang out with people, because you get the right group of people together, and this is the kind of thing that happens. And
Yeah.
I am personally, that's where I live. That's where I thrive in life. In that moment, Ghost can tell you this is where I do.
Yeah, and
So-
this is just it's so much fun.
Yeah,
I love
guys,
these streams.
This is so much.
Yeah, me too. And thanks for including me. I
Absolutely.
don't know.
Of course we would.
Don't
You're
know
the
what
author's
I have to add
husband.
to this.
You have so much to add.
I always feel like I'm
You're
here
baked
to
with
derail the
mangoes.
conversation.
Shiraz, can I tell you
Yeah.
something about
Just go
mangoes?
off
I'm
on
not a huge
tangents.
fan of mangoes, actually.
Is-
But
I don't think that these particular conversations can be derailed because they all eventually
Right.
wind around.
they do.
It's true.
They're relevant.
Back to the topic.
They're
It's
relevant.
like
Back with mangoes. What are you doing with those mangoes?
Mangoes?
And the-
Mangoes are good for
and the,
margaritas and not much else, if you ask me.
the suggested topic is just that. It's a suggestion. We don't have to stick to it.
Space,
I-
the good
I
place.
made,
Ooh,
uh,
the
I
good
made-
place.
I made some,
Fantasy
The
Good
realm and
Place.
plain old Earth. The Good Place, do you mean the Good Place as in just the Good Place, or do you mean like the TV show? Because the Good Place was
Oh, yeah.
amazing as a TV show. Ghost with your whiskey, cheers.
Are we wrapping up? Are we planning on wrapping up for Do People Want to Sleep, or are we going to keep going for a
I
bit?
think
I have to sleep. I'm so sorry.
Polly did say
I don't
you
want
have
to.
it's
I don't want to
fine,
yawn
no.
on stream. So yeah, I
So
gotta get some rest. I'm so tired, but this
oh,
is super
Flums,
super
thank
fun.
you so much for coming along. I know you've been so busy and so like crazy this last couple of.
I know it just sucks that it's these stream. Like, I love this stream. I want to keep talking for like 2 hours. Oh my gosh, there's so much. But yeah, and I love hanging out with you guys. I love hanging out with this chat. Like, this is freaking amazing. So
Yeah.
thank you so much for having me.
No,
Yes,
I
absolutely.
appreciate that you guys are always so keen to do these because it means a lot to me to have, because it used to be like I would put a book out and that was just kind of it. I wouldn't really celebrate it. I wouldn't really like pay attention to it, but having something to look forward to on release week and being able to come and like showcase parts of the book and just hang out with friends and talk to people, it makes such a big difference because like I said, this is 10 years of my life to get this book out the door, to get the series started. It's worth it to take this time, and having you guys to do it with me makes me do that, makes me appreciate like what I've done. It made me feel like I have done something. So thank you guys for doing this
Absolutely.
and for setting aside the time.
It's worth it. Your books are so amazing. You're such a good writer. I don't know. I've thought so for a billion years. So I just
Thank you.
And just
It
a
means
fun
lot.
person and a good friend. Like, I love these discussions. So
You guys are gonna
anyway.
make me cry.
All right. Well, but I, you know what's funny? I actually realized that if you guys weren't ending, I don't want to screw up the thing. So check this out. If I step off screen, look at this. We've got like a backup.
Oh my god.
Look at that.
There we go. There we go.
Terrible.
Doesn't screw up
So
the
he doesn't
overlay,
mess
right?
up the cameras, y'all. Anybody in chat that doesn't know, if somebody logs off, all our cameras jump to somewhere else on the screen, and nothing is
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So I didn't want to screw anything
Oh,
up, but anyway.
Flums, that's so sweet.
So, do you guys think you're ending? Like, are we gonna do a rate, or are you guys doing more drunk stream?
Totally up to Flutter. I know that Ghost wants to go to bed, but maybe he now wants to stay up and drink whiskey.
It's up to Ghost. If Ghost wants to drink whiskey, I'll drink
No,
whiskey with him.
Oh.
I'm up
Sounds
to,
like. Yeah,
I
I'm
think
not
we're
very
actually
close
probably
about where I
gonna
am.
wrap it up.
Going to bed, man.
I could totally do something. Me and Flutter could totally do. I don't know what we have no idea what we would do, but
Right.
I'm totally up
Whiskey
for
stream.
sticking
Shiraz
around.
says whiskey stream. It's time for a whiskey
What
stream,
is it?
Ghost. Let's
What
do
is it
it.
with
I
these
have other
ladies just
whiskeys I can
staying up
give
all
tries.
night? What the hell?
We could do it.
Flutter and I are night owls. Flutter and I are total night owls.
Oh no,
God.
always
Oh,
have
shit.
been. Always have
And
been.
it kills me.
Oh.
God.
I cannot. Listen.
I just want to sleep, and she's like, "Ooh, I'm awake now."
We could get Vinyl to take Collie's place.
Ooh.
Vinyl, would you like
Vinyl.
to join us for a girl chat?
Eh?
If you're staying up, offers there. We can talk about
Hold on.
anything. It doesn't have
We
to
can
be
talk
book
about
related.
whatever you want to, Vinyl.
I always
Vinyl.
go
Great
to
idea.
girls after dark.
Right?
Just saying.
Girls
You're
Night
welcome-
After
you're
Dark.
welcome
Oh, I
to
love
join.
it. Let's do Girls Night After Dark.
Girls after dark.
Oh, that'd be great. This is such a great idea.
Well.
Mm.
Okay,
We
wait.
might have to like switch the overlay. a
Oh,
little
I
bit,
know.
but
Well,
we'll figure
let's
it out.
look at that. Hold on a minute. This is a. Yeah, that's what it would come up as. I don't know if we switch to 3 people in my work. I just. Yes. Oh my
It's
God.
okay,
It's
Mino.
okay.
If you have to sleep, that's fine
It's
too.
all right.
Yeah.
It's all right. We should probably head out
Oh, okay.
anyway. Do
We
you want
can
to just?
either do something just the two of us.
Do you want to
or
just do
if
the
you'd
2 of
rather...
us? We can.
Yeah, I don't know what we do, but
I have no
I'm not
idea
going
either.
to bed for at least another hour or so. So I'm
Okay.
fine to stick around. If chat wants us to keep going doing something, we can figure something out. Hey Goose, I thought you had gone to bed.
Right.
Mom glare. Mom friend.
Well, no, Goose was working on a small project, right? Goose, how did it go?
Okay.
Right.
Maybe
Yeah,
I
how
was
you
How's it
doing,
going
Goose?
then?
I hope it went well.
Mhm.
I hope it went well too.
Oh, okay. So,
shoot,
Flumps, I don't want
I
to keep
know
you
mine
late
almost did.
too much later than you want to be.
Yeah,
Um,
thank you for coming. Thank you for hanging
Yeah.
out.
This
Yeah,
has been
thanks for
super,
hanging out,
super fun.
pal.
Oh, script for an
Writing
animation.
A script
Oh,
for an
fantastic.
animation I'm going to be doing. That's amazing.
That sounds so much fun. Flumps.
I don't know what's happening. I'm getting way too tired. Anyway, seriously, thank you guys again for having me. Bye, everyone.
Thank you
I
for
love
coming
you all.
in,
Thank you.
Flumps.
Later.
Coming.
Have a
Bye.
good night.
Let's see if this does a thing. If Flumps leaves, no, hold on, he's leaving his thing
Nope.
up. Okay.
Are you going to bed too, Ghost? Should we switch to just
I'm gonna
the
go
two
to-
of us?
I'm gonna go to bed too. Are you gonna keep streaming or are you gonna raid?
Potentially,
For-
I'm potentially gonna
For a couple
keep
minutes,
streaming
maybe.
with Flutter.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll see
If
how long
you
chat
raid,
sticks
if you
around.
raid somebody,
Oh, do we have somebody
I'm
that we
gonna-
should rate?
I'm gonna put his name in chat. There. Raid.
Oh,
raid
Arx
this
is
person.
Arc on? Okay.
He's on right now. Playing a little bit of Fallen Order, but really, really chill dude. Yeah.
Right.
So, I mean,
should we do
if
that?
you raid later
Megan?
and he's still on, yeah.
Vinyl. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Should we just close it up and do the raid, or it is
That's
If you,
up to you.
if
It
you
is, like,
want, that
almost 1:30 here, so I feel like I should
Yeah,
go either way.
totally. I'm fine.
Let's
I'm
do
fine
that.
with this because Val's music stream is tomorrow, by the way, guys.
That's
So
right.
Everybody,
Please attend
Oh,
Val's
yeah.
music stream.
At least
Support
part of it.
her.
Go
She's
out
gonna
and
write a
support
song.
her.
I'm so excited. Thank you for doing that,
We
Ghost.
usually we've started doing girls' night on Friday with Val, but we took a night off to do this,
To
and
do the
also
book?
she has her music stream tomorrow.
When
So I believe
Val
it starts at
is
noon.
starting at 3 Eastern, noon
Is it
Pacific.
3 Eastern?
Yes.
Noon, okay, yeah,
3
noon
Eastern,
Pacific.
noon Pacific.
So please check out her stream at some. I think she's going to be going for like 9 hours. So at some
gonna
point
be a
during
long
the
stream.
afternoon tomorrow, just go over to her channel, give her some love. She's going
Drop
to be
in.
writing music on stream. She's going to be
It's gonna be
playing.
awesome.
Yeah, she's going to be
Right?
writing
Yeah.
a song, mixing a song. She's going to be playing some Rocksmith. So please check that out and support her. She's really excited about this. She's been working on it for a long time. And we will probably do girls' night with Val and Ghost next Friday.
Yes.
Um,
Absolutely. And so
so
as
probably
a
be
last,
Solaris again.
in case anybody did not because I did it wrong. Go buy Megan's book, which is this one right here. Otherwise, I think we're gonna raid Arc Stardust. Yeah.
And thank you all for
All
coming.
right.
Thank you for hanging out. If I missed any of your
Marathon,
questions,
we've already covered the fact
please-
that it's a gender neutral night. Nobody cares.
it's got girls' night
It's
spelled
girls
that
with
way.
a U and a Z. So
And if I did for some reason miss your question, please do pop it in the Discord. You can pop it in Flutter's Discord or
please, yeah.
Holly's or Ghosts, and I will see it. You can always at me, just at Striker on
Here, hold
Discord.
on. I've got your social media too.
Or you can contact me. How many pages? I think in paperback it's 152 pages.
Dan. Girls night.
Right?
See, we could do that. I could change it. That's okay.
I mean, I'm fine with however you want to
gotta
spell
stay,
it.
it's gotta stay some form of girls' night, but it doesn't have to be like girls' night. So it's just anyway, let's go do a raid. Okay.
Good night,
All right, yeah.
guys.
Good night. Thank you so much.
Is a really chill guy. He's somebody that I blind rated playing Jedi Fallen Order, and he's become somebody that I watch and chat with regularly.
He's
Fantastic.
really great. Yeah.
Good.
Really neat
Really
guy.
nice guy.
I'm looking forward to it. So let's do it. Thank you all so much for coming and hanging out and talking about Megan's book. And we will see you all at another later date. Oh, Shiraz. All right, you guys, we're going.
No, what?
What?
Doesn't even. Do you stream? Shiraz, I didn't even know you streamed.
Look at
Shiraz,
this.
this
This
is
is
a
bad.
question.
There you go. There you go. All right, you guys.
Doesn't even
We'll
watch
see
me
you
if
all
don't
later.
stream.
Have a good
guys.
night. We love
Love
you.
you.
Don't be a punk, Shiraz.
Bye.
Oh boy.
There we go. Oh my god, you guys. I'm not even in that chat right now. I don't even know what's happening in that